In 2004, a chilling incident occurred in Sasebo, Japan, that caught the nation's attention and left a lasting imprint on its collective memory. This incident involved an 11-year-old schoolgirl who committed a shocking act of violence against one of her classmates. The event unfolded in a small, close-knit community where such brutality seemed almost unimaginable, especially coming from someone so young. Sasebo, located in the Nagasaki prefecture, is known for its serene beauty and a way of life that tends to be very peaceful. The locals enjoy a connection with nature and a tranquil atmosphere. Despite this idyllic setting, the tragic events that played out in May of 2004 illustrated a darker side to human nature and the complexities of youth. It was an incident that many thought would never happen in such a seemingly calm town. The girl involved in this case, who was a 6th grade student, had reportedly been experiencing mental health issues. This revelation sparked discussions regarding the pressures faced by children in modern society, issues that can at times remain hidden beneath the surface. The violent act occurred in the school's classroom, taking everyone by surprise. Reports indicate that the girl acted with a level of premeditation that has raised many questions about her state of mind and the influences that led to this shocking behavior. The victim, a fellow student, was described as cheerful and friendly. She was beloved by her classmates and teachers alike. This loss resonated deeply within the school community and beyond, amplifying the horror of the situation. The juxtaposition between the vibrant life that was tragically cut short and the chilling act that led to it was stark. In her innocence, her friends struggled to understand how someone so young could commit such an unthinkable deed against a peer. The aftershocks of this case rippled through the Japanese media and society, igniting debates regarding youth violence and mental health. Experts began to probe deeper into the psychological well-being of children. Discussions about the pressures of academia, bullying, and even the effects of media on young minds. This incident was a call to action, revealing that there was much work to be done in fostering supportive environments for youth. Following the incident, the local government implemented new policies aimed at improving mental health support and educational resources within school. This tragic event became a catalyst for change as communities began to take a closer look at the emotional landscapes of their children. Schools in the Sasebo area began focusing on creating a more inclusive environment in which students could express their feelings and seek help without fear of stigma. As Japan processed the horror of what happened, people also began to reflect on the broader implications. Many questioned the measures in place surrounding children's welfare and safety. Society grappled with the unsettling reality that acts of violence can emerge even from those we might consider innocent. The dialogue shifted towards understanding youth, addressing emotional crises, and confronting the societal expectations placed on children. The case also stirred discussions about the legal framework surrounding minors who commit crimes. At the time, Japan's laws treated minors differently than adults, prompting deliberations about accountability and rehabilitation. In the eyes of the law, the young perpetrator was offered a path toward potential recovery rather than punishment, which sparked a range of opinions from the public. In the years following the incident, the stigma surrounding mental health continued to be addressed. Initiatives aimed at reducing bullying in schools were heightened, recognizing that a supportive environment can be crucial for children's development. Schools and organizations began collaborating to foster empathy, understanding, and resilience among students, emphasizing the importance of kindness and communication. As time went on, Sasebo's reputation was slowly rebuilt. The community came together to support one another, reinforcing their connections and focusing on proactive measures to ensure that such a tragedy does not repeat itself. By embracing open dialogues about mental health and emotional well-being, The residents worked towards healing and creating a safer environment for their children. The Sasebo case serves as a complex reminder of the potential darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives. It beckons society to engage with the young, encouraging communication, understanding, and support. As we reflect on this event, we are compelled to acknowledge the importance of nurturing emotional intelligence in children, ensuring that they grow into compassionate and responsible individuals. In essence, the story of Sasebo is not merely one of tragedy, but also a beacon for transformation. It reminds us of our shared responsibility to cultivate a world where every child feels valued, understood, and safe. By addressing the challenges they face and encouraging openness, we may help to diffuse the complexities of youth, ultimately guiding them toward brighter futures. The echoes of Sasebo are a call not just to remember, but to act, to change, and to protect the most vulnerable among us. On July 23, 2007, the tranquil suburban town of Cheshire, Connecticut, fell victim to a harrowing and tragic crime that would haunt its community for years to come. This story centers around the Petit family, who lived an ordinary life in their charming home with their shared dreams and aspirations. However, that peaceful facade was shattered when an unimaginable event unfolded, known as the Cheshire home invasion. In the early hours of the fateful night, two men, Joshua Komisarjevsky and Stephen Hayes, embarked on a chilling plan that would alter the course of many lives forever. The two had criminal histories and had recently been released from prison. Attracted by the illusion of wealth and vulnerability, they targeted the Petit family home, unaware of the horror they were about to inflict. The attack began with an alarming invasion as the two men broke into the Petit household. They entered through an unlocked door, which is a stark reminder of how vital security measures are in ensuring our safety. Once inside, the intruders confronted Jennifer Petit, the mother, who was alone in the house at the time. The violence escalated quickly, demonstrating the unpredictable nature of such aggressive acts. Despite her courage and resourcefulness, she was no match for the determined intruders. In a desperate attempt to save her family, she was forced to reveal where they could find money and valuables. Meanwhile, Jennifer's daughters, Haley and Michaela, were awakened by the commotion and quickly plunged into a nightmare. The sense of dread and fear is unimaginable, as they found themselves in a situation that no child should ever have to experience. The family was horrifically restrained and subjected to unspeakable acts. The invasion became a tragedy that cut deep into the fabric of the community, revealing how vulnerable families can be. As the night wore on, the situation deteriorated further. Despite efforts to reach out for help, Jennifer's attempts were met with violent resistance. The chaos unfolded, revealing the cold brutality of the attackers. Unfortunately, the emergency response was too late. With their cruel intentions fully realized, Komisarjevsky and Hayes would go on to commit heinous acts that left a permanent scar on the Petit family and the community at large. In the aftermath of this tragedy, the Connecticut community rallied around the Petit family. Vigils were held, expressing support for the family and denouncing the violence that had shattered their lives. The reckoning of this event sparked crucial conversations about safety, community vigilance, and the impact of crime on society. People began to reflect on their own personal safety measures and the necessity of being aware of their surroundings. The legal proceedings that followed this heartbreaking incident were extensive, drawing national attention to the case. Joshua Komisarjevsky and Stephen Hayes were both apprehended and faced numerous charges. Their trials highlighted the complexities of the criminal justice system, raising questions about due process, mental health, and the treatment of offenders. The community watched closely as justice was sought for the victims, exemplifying a collective desire for accountability in the face of such horrific acts. What makes the Cheshire home invasion particularly chilling is the randomness of the attack. It serves as a painful reminder that behind the facades of homes and neighborhoods, darkness can lurk. The Petit family, like many others, had dreams and hopes that were crushed in a moment of violence. This event underscores the fragility of life and the pure unpredictability of human behavior. As time passed, the Petit family's story continued to resonate. Discussions surrounding crime, prevention, and community safety became more prevalent, advocating for practices to protect families. Local organizations emerged, emphasizing the importance of neighborhood watch programs and active engagement within communities. The impact of the tragic events had led to significant changes in how families approached their security and sense of safety. In addition to the immediate community response, the story of the Cheshire home invasion began to spread beyond Connecticut. It inspired documentaries and news articles, all dedicated to understanding the underlying factors that led to such violence. Analysts, journalists, and community leaders tried to dissect the motivations behind such senseless acts. Conversations surrounding mental health, societal struggles, and the role of the justice system were debated in forums and discussions far and wide. Human resilience also became a theme in the wake of this tragedy. The Petit family's legacy is honored in various ways, reminding communities of the importance of unity, love, and strength in times of crisis. The bonds of family and friendship are often what help people navigate through the darkest of times. The outpouring of support and empathy emphasized the human spirit's ability to care for one another, even after unspeakable loss. As we reflect on the Cheshire home invasion, it's important to grasp the lessons learned from this heartbreaking event. The story serves as a somber reminder of the need for vigilance and awareness in our lives, while also illustrating the profound impact that such tragedies can have on families and communities. As we move forward, may we always seek ways to uplift and support one another, fostering environments where love and security flourish, and where such dark events become less of a reality. In the heart of Kansas, a chilling tale unfolded over several decades, as one man's sinister obsession eluded law enforcement and haunted a community. Dennis Rader, a seemingly ordinary member of the community, led a double life that masked his identity as one of America's most notorious serial killers, known as the BTK Killer. The initials stood for Bind, Torture, Kill, a grim summary of the gruesome methods he employed to carry out his crimes. Over nearly 30 years, Rader evaded capture while instilling fear amongst the residents of Wichita. His horrific reign began in 1974, when he committed his first known murder. Each crime bore Rader's signature brutality, characterized by meticulous planning and calculated execution. He stalked his victims, often breaking into their homes under the cover of darkness, binding them, torturing them, and ultimately taking their lives. This heinous cycle persisted into the early 1990s, during which Rader became emboldened, frequently taunting police and the media. He would send letters detailing his escapades, describing the murders in a disturbingly cold manner, while also mocking the authorities for their inability to catch him. The turning point came in 2004. After years of silence, Rader resurfaced, sending another letter to the media that reignited the investigation. His communication this time included information that only the killer would know, further flaunting his knowledge over the police efforts. The letters contained not just chilling details about the murders, but were also intricately formatted, showcasing Rader's need for acknowledgement and his sadistic desire for control. However, this reemergence also proved to be his downfall. Law enforcement began leveraging advancements in technology to gather evidence that might tie Rader to the crimes. Investigators utilized DNA evidence collected from some of the crime scenes, alongside the meticulous records kept over the years. Meanwhile, Rader continued to slip up in his communications, providing enough clues for investigators to link him to the murders. In early 2005, Rader's facade began to crumble. He was a respected member of his community, known for his work as a city code enforcement officer, but under that ordinary exterior was a man struggling with his dark impulses. Police investigation teams worked tirelessly, and they focused their attention on Rader. He matched the profile of the killer they were trying to catch, and his letters were indeed becoming increasingly erratic, showcasing a man desperate for attention, yet unaware that he was being watched closely. The breakthrough came in February 2005, when investigators finally connected Rader to the BTK killings through DNA evidence. With a warrant in hand, authorities arrested him on February 25, 2005. The arrest was both shocking and surreal for those who knew him. Neighbors described him as a family man, involved in his church and community events. Yet, beneath the surface lay horrors unimaginable to those who crossed his path in everyday life. During police interrogation, Rader initially denied involvement, but soon confessed to the murders. His chilling admission revealed the true depths of his depravity, providing details about each crime that sent shivers down the spines of investigators. He spoke about his motivations, his psychological compulsions, and the complexities of living with such darkness hidden under a veneer of normalcy. The ramifications of his capture reverberated throughout the nation. It was a significant moment, not only for those affected by his horrific actions, but also for a law enforcement community that struggled for decades to bring the elusive killer to justice. Interest in the case surged, leading to widespread media coverage, documenting the chilling narrative of a man who embodied both the banality of evil and the complex psychology of a serial murderer. Rader's trial began in June 2005, captivating viewers as they learned about the extent of his crimes. His confessions were replete with disturbing details, yet he delivered them with a chilling nonchalance. The courtroom was filled with the anger and pain of victims' families as they finally saw justice take shape, bringing closure in a way they had waited for far too long. Dennis Rader was ultimately sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. His arrest marked the end of a haunting chapter for Wichita, a city that had lived in fear for decades, ignorant of the monster among them. Rader's fall from grace serves as a stark reminder of the thin line between normality and monstrosity, a reality that echoes in the minds of those affected by his legacy of terror. The tale of Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, remains etched in the annals of crime history as a case study into the dark recesses of the human mind and the lengths to which law enforcement must go to protect the innocent and uphold justice. Rader's capture not only marked the end of his reign, but also ignited necessary conversations about crime prevention, forensic science, and the societal obligation to address the underlying issues that lead to such horrific violence. In the year 1992, a tragic event unfolded in Indiana that would haunt the community and resonate throughout the country for years to come. The story revolves around a 12-year-old girl named Shanda, a victim of shocking violence brought upon by a group of teenage girls. It was an incident that not only highlighted issues of bullying and rivalry among adolescents, but also raised questions about the depths of human behavior. Shanda was a bright and lively girl, known for her vivacious spirit, and she enjoyed the untroubled life typical of a young girl her age. She attended school, made friends, and was beginning to explore her identity as she transitioned from childhood toward her teenage years. However, the seemingly normal backdrop of her life concealed troubling dynamics that would ultimately spiral out of control. At the center of this tragedy were 4 teenage girls who had connections with Shanda. This group, consisting of Amanda, Lori, Hope, and Tony, became involved in a complicated web of jealousy and obsession. Their feelings, fueled by a desire for social dominance and peer approval, quickly turned toxic. This rivalry escalated into a dangerous and harmful fixation on Shanda, leading the girls to formulate a plan that would end in devastating consequences. On the fateful night of January 11th, 1992, Shanda became the target of their fury. The girls lured her out and subjected her to a night of extreme violence that is hard to comprehend. What began as an act of cruelty soon transformed into a horrifying ordeal of torture. The nature of their actions was not only shocking, but showcased a level of brutality that is rare among peers. The treatment Shanda endured was intensely tragic, highlighting the dark side of human behavior. Throughout the night, the girls engaged in acts that displayed a severe detachment from reality and an alarming lack of empathy. The escalation of aggression was fueled by a combination of envy and a misguided sense of superiority that often accompanies peer pressure. This tragic incident serves as a haunting reminder of how far some individuals can go when consumed by negative emotions and the desire to exert power over others. As the community began to learn about the heinous acts that unfolded that night, the response was one of disbelief and horror. The investigation revealed the extent of the violence and the involvement of the 4 girls. Law enforcement was faced with the challenge of discussing the details of such a gruesome crime, particularly in a case involving minors. The implications of their actions raised questions about accountability and how society addresses youth violence. Over the following months, the girls were put on trial, and the proceedings attracted national attention. The courtroom scenes were tense, as families and community members struggled to reconcile the innocence of childhood with the horrific nature of the crime. Throughout the trial, the reactions varied widely. Some expressed outrage, while others found it difficult to grasp how 4 seemingly normal girls could be capable of such brutality. The impact of Shanda's tragic story reached beyond Indiana, sparking conversations about the nature of bullying, the emotional turmoil of adolescence, and the importance of addressing mental health issues among youth. It also prompted discussions surrounding the responsibility of parents and society in guiding young people through their formative years. The legacy of this event remains evident as programs and discussions continue to focus on preventing similar tragedies by promoting kindness, understanding, and empathy among young individuals. In the years that followed, the paths of the 4 girls diverged dramatically. Each faced consequences for their actions, navigating the complexities of their lives in the aftermath of the crime. Individuals in the community have stood vigil in Shanda's memory, emphasizing the importance of awareness and the impact that our choices can have on others. Shanda Scherer's story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the critical need for compassion and understanding in a world that can sometimes foster hatred and violence. It compels us to reflect on the importance of kindness in our daily interactions and to recognize that even the smallest gesture can have profound effects on those around us. Wandos. In remembering Shanda, we are reminded to cultivate a culture rooted in love and support, especially for the younger generations who will shape the future. The echoes of this story encourage a sense of responsibility towards one another and serve as a call to action. Change begins with each individual, with the choices we make and the kindness we extend to others. This profound tragedy remains a crucial point of discussion in our social narrative, urging us to foster environments that prioritize understanding and compassion above all. The JonBenét Ramsey case is one of the most talked about criminal investigations in American history. The tragic story began on December 26, 1996, when 6-year-old JonBenét was found dead in her family's Boulder, Colorado home. Her death shocked the nation and raised numerous questions that have lingered for decades. JonBenét was a beautiful child, known for her talent in beauty pageants. Her bubbly personality and bright smile captured the hearts of everyone who knew her. The day after Christmas, her family awoke to find her missing, leading to a frantic search that ended in unimaginable heartbreak. She was discovered in the basement of their home, laying still, and her life was cruelly cut short. At the time, the investigation was met with considerable media attention. The unusual circumstances surrounding her death, combined with the high-profile nature of the family, sparked a sensational news story that captivated the public. Law enforcement officials faced immense pressure to solve this case quickly, but multiple missteps complicated the investigation. The initial stages of the investigation focused on those close to JonBenét. The Ramsey family, including her parents John and Patsy, were scrutinized by both detectives and the media. Many theories emerged, some of which pointed fingers at the family, while others looked outward for potential suspects. This whirlwind of speculation only intensified the public's desire for answers. Fast forward to 2006, a full decade after JonBenét's death. A man named John Mark Carr came forward, claiming he was responsible for her murder. His confession sent shockwaves through the media and reignited the public's anguish surrounding the case. Carr was arrested and extradited to the United States, where he stated he had intended to kidnap JonBenét. However, doubts quickly surfaced regarding the validity of his confession. Investigators scrutinized Carr's background and past. It soon became clear that he had a history of mental illness and a troubled lifestyle. Although Carr provided details about the crime that seemed compelling, the evidence against him was inadequate. His confession was ultimately discredited, leading investigators to let him go, which left many people feeling frustrated and heartbroken all over again. Carr's false confession served as a reminder of the ongoing mystery and the pain surrounding JonBenét's death. This incident further complicated the narrative around the case, making it even more challenging for the public to process the tragedy. The JonBenét Ramsey case became not only a focus of the media, but also a point of discussion among crime enthusiasts, true crime podcasts, and various documentaries. Each new development, whether legitimate or fabricated, brought renewed attention to the unsolved murder. In the years following Carr's confession, the Ramsey case continued to be the source of both fervor and fascination. Advances in forensic science, particularly DNA testing, provided a glimmer of hope that solutions might be possible. Investigators reopened the case, revisiting the evidence with fresh eyes. They hoped to find breakthroughs that would lead to new leads or answers to the baffling questions left in the wake of JonBenét's death. Public interest persisted, fueled by the emergence of various theories and potential suspects, including those proposed by amateur sleuths and crime aficionados. The internet exploded with discussions about possible motives, family dynamics, and suspects, each angle providing a new lens through which to examine the tragedy. Media coverage continued to delve into the ramifications of Carr's false admission. The emotional burden on the Ramsey family and the community was immense. Moreover, the persistence of the case's uncertainty has cast an enduring shadow over this idyllic suburban neighborhood, lingering as a reminder of the fears that can come with even the most ordinary of lives. The heartbreak experienced by JonBenét's family resonates with many as they navigated not only their personal loss, but also the public scrutiny that accompanied it. Despite their struggles, they have maintained an unwavering presence in the discussions surrounding the investigation, while fighting against the narrative that often painted them in a negative light. As the years have passed, the JonBenét Ramsey case remains an open investigation, a loss that continues to haunt many. It serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of safety and the impact of loss on families and communities. Every new discovery, no matter how small, fuels discussion and keeps the memory of JonBenét alive. As conversations about her case evolve, they highlight the importance of community and collective effort in the pursuit of justice. Through it all, JonBenét's story has become a part of American folklore, entwined with themes of innocence, tragedy, and the longing for closure. Each chapter in the tale reminds us of the lasting effects of loss and the relentless quest for answers. The case of JonBenét Ramsey is a poignant reminder of the journey of grief and the exploration of truth in the face of overwhelming difficulty. The legacy of her life and the search for justice remains a testament to her memory, engaging new generations to think critically about crime, media, and the impact of innocence lost. The case of Cassie is a haunting reminder of the vulnerabilities that can exist in our increasingly digital world. Cassie, a bright and adventurous 13-year-old girl from Oklahoma, had dreams just like any other teenager. She was deeply curious about the world around her, forging friendships and exploring her interests, often online, just as many young people do today. In early 2002, Cassie was navigating the complexities of adolescence that included curiosity about life beyond her small town. It was during this time that she became engaged with various online platforms, chatting with peers and adults alike. This is where her story took a tragic turn. She met someone who would ultimately exploit her trusting nature, a predator who used the anonymity of the internet to create a facade that Cassie did not see through. The allure of making new friends and experiencing the excitement of online conversation created a false sense of safety. Unfortunately, the person she connected with online did not have her best interests at heart. Following a method often seen in predator cases, this individual built a rapport with Cassie, gaining her trust over time. The internet, designed as a space for connection, sometimes opens doors to danger, especially for young and vulnerable users. On the day of her disappearance in July 2002, Cassie was lured away from her home. The circumstances surrounding her abduction are chilling. Alarm bells ring in the minds of parents and guardians everywhere when they recall how easily Cassie was deceived. Once she was taken, the reality of her situation became grim. Her family, who had been hoping for her safe return, faced a nightmare of uncertainty and fear. They had no way to imagine the horrors that would unfold in the days that followed. Following Cassie's abduction, an extensive search was launched. Community members and law enforcement worked tirelessly, hoping to find her safe. The search stretched not only across Oklahoma, but also captured national attention. Flyers were circulated, news outlets reported on her case, and concerned citizens rallied together in the hopes of rekindling hope. Every moment was critical, and every lead was pursued with urgency. As the investigation progressed, the reality of Cassie's situation became more evident. Tragically, her life ended far too soon, a victim of a crime that shook her community. The aftermath left behind heartbreak, and a profound sense of loss. The events surrounding her abduction and murder raised urgent questions about safety, digital literacy, and the responsibility that comes with online interactions. In reflection, the Cassie Woody case serves as a pivotal learning point. It highlights the necessity for ongoing conversations about internet safety among young individuals and their guardians. Education around the potential dangers of online interactions cannot be emphasized enough. The ability to recognize risk in digital communication, to question the motives of those behind the screens, and to foster an open dialogue within families are essential steps in safeguarding against similar tragedies. Additionally, it underscores the importance of community awareness. Vigilance inherently creates a safer environment for everyone. It prompts the necessity for schools and organizations to implement programs that address digital citizenship, teaching the balance of enjoying the internet while remaining aware of its perils. The heartache that Cassie's family endured is something that continues to resonate with many. Grieving a child is a profound loss that leaves marks on the lives of loved ones, often unhealable. Their fight to ensure that Cassie's story serves as a beacon of awareness and a catalyst for change in policies surrounding internet safety is an inspiring testament to her memory. As stories of tragedies like Cassie's emerge, they remind us to hold tight to our loved ones and urge us to protect them by equipping them with the knowledge to navigate an ever-evolving digital landscape safely. While the internet can be vast and full of opportunities for connection and growth, it remains crucial to approach it with caution and to prioritize open lines of communication. Just as Cassie's story unfolds, each action taken towards awareness can protect future generations from similar experiences. In conclusion, Cassie Woody's story is one of both profound loss and an urgent call to action. It serves as a reminder of the reality that not all online connections are benign, and that safety must prevail in every interaction. With continued education and vigilance, we can honor Cassie's memory by striving to create a safer world for all children, ensuring that the tragedies of the past inspire change for a more secure future. In the fall of 2006, a tragic crime unfolded in a small town in Idaho, a case that shocked the community and drew national attention due to its chilling nature. The murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart is a harrowing story of betrayal, young lives intertwined within a culture that often romanticizes horror and violence. Cassie, a bright and beloved 17-year-old, was known for her kindness and easy smile. Like many teenagers, she enjoyed spending time with friends, going to school, and dreaming about her future. That fateful weekend in September, Cassie was house-sitting for her aunt, a perfect opportunity for a quiet evening. Unbeknownst to her, two classmates, Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk, had other plans in mind, inspired by the horror films that had captivated their imagination. These two boys, described as ordinary teens with a fascination for the macabre, had become obsessed with the idea of committing a murder. Their fascination wasn't merely a passing interest. It had grown into a dark obsession fueled by a mix of cinematic thrills and a desire for infamy. And as they plotted, what remained unsettling was their sense of detachment from the reality of their intentions. On that night, Draper and Adamczyk made their way to the home where Cassie was staying. Their initial plan was to watch movies and hang out, which Cassie welcomed, never suspecting the intentions swirling in their minds. As the evening progressed, the tension escalated into something horrific. The boys turned from casual friends to monstrous aggressors, with their motivations rooted in a deep-seated belief that their act would be one for the ages, an echo of the countless horror films they had consumed. The boys brought along a knife, a tool meant for a gruesome display, rather than a means of defense. In the tranquility of the Idaho countryside, the air turned thick with fear as darkness enveloped the house. Cassie, in a moment of trust, let her guard down, unaware of the danger lurking behind the facade of friendship. The attack was brutal and shocking. The boys stabbed Cassie multiple times, a senseless act that echoed the graphic violence seen in their beloved horror movies. The details of the crime would ultimately haunt the community, not just for the loss of a vibrant young life, but for the chilling nature of the crime itself. They recorded moments of the attack, believing that they were creating something extraordinary, a twisted legacy that would cement their names in the annals of infamy. It's bewildering to think about how deeply media influences behavior, especially among impressionable teens. Films often blur the lines between fiction and reality, creating an allure that beckons young minds into a world devoid of empathy. In their recordings, Draper and Adam Chick captured their moments of darkness, showcasing not just the act itself, but their emotional disconnection, reaffirming the tragic narrative that they were indeed lost in the shadows of their fantasies. The aftermath of this horrific event was devastating. The local community, once a welcoming and safe environment, was shaken to its core. Friends and family of Cassie were left to grapple with the senseless violence that had stripped away a promising life. They remembered her as a bright and hopeful soul, someone who had her entire future ahead of her. The wider society began to question the implications of media influence on youth behavior, leading to deeper conversations about the responsibilities of creators when it comes to depicting violence. As the investigation unfolded, both Draper and Adam Chick were apprehended and faced charges that would change their lives irrevocably. The legal proceedings revealed the complexity of their motivations, but also the profound effects of their choices. They were teenagers who had let fascination descend into dark obsession, turning an evening of camaraderie into a nightmare. Cassie Jo Stoddart's murder serves as a grim reminder of the fragility of life and the potential consequences of unchecked desires and influences. It's a story that transcends a single life lost. It forces a reflection on societal values, the impact of horror as entertainment, and the crucial need for empathy in a world where technology and media often reclaim morality. In remembering Cassie, we honor not just her life, but also the lessons learned from this tragedy. It implores us to engage in discussions about youth culture, media influence, and the importance of recognizing the signs of distress in those around us. Cassie's story is one that lingers, a note of caution that echoes through generations, urging us to choose compassion over cruelty and to be vigilant in the connections we forge with one another. In the quiet and picturesque town of New York, a shocking and tragic tale unfolded that rattled the community and left a lasting mark in the annals of local history. It revolves around the life of Mary Yoder, a woman who, despite living a seemingly normal existence, became the unsuspecting victim of a disturbing family betrayal. The events that transpired within the walls of the Yoder home highlight the intricate dynamics of family relationships and the lengths to which people might go when fueled by greed and spite. Mary Yoder was known for her caring demeanor and commitment to her family, embodying the spirit of what many believed to be an idyllic suburban life. She spent her days gardening, volunteering, and enjoying quality time with her loved ones. However, unbeknownst to her, a dark and sinister plot was unfolding, led by none other than her own niece, who was entangled in a web of jealousy and resentment. The niece, driven by motivations that stemmed from a feeling of neglect and a desire for financial gain, devised a plan that was both shocking and chilling. It revolved around a complete betrayal of the trust that had once existed between her and her aunt. The idea was simple, yet horrifying. Poison Mary and create a scenario that would point the finger at her uncle, thereby setting the stage for a financial windfall. In a horrifying turn of events, the niece obtained cyanide, a potent and deadly poison, and stealthily introduced it into the food that Mary would eventually consume. This calculated act was not only an attempt at murder, but also an effort to distort the perception of her uncle, casting him as the villain in a tragedy that would rip the family apart. When Mary became ill, her family and friends rallied around her, desperately hoping for her recovery. The unsuspecting community offered their prayers, and medical professionals worked tirelessly to uncover the mystery behind her sudden decline. It was a time of horror and confusion. As noted, patterns of behavior and uncharacteristic symptoms pointed towards something far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. As the investigation unfolded, clues began to emerge that hinted at the tragic truth. Forensic evidence and careful examination revealed traces of cyanide, leading authorities to piece together the chilling narrative of betrayal and greed. The community was left reeling as they grappled with the reality that a beloved member of their town had been poisoned by a family member, a betrayal that cut deeper than anyone could have expected. Community members struggled to come to terms with the personal nature of the betrayal. How could someone who had shared family gatherings, laughter, and bonds of affection turn to such dark intention? Conversations flowed through the town, revealing the depths of familial bonds and the sometimes tenuous strings that hold them together. As the investigation progressed, the niece's motivations came into sharper focus. Jealousy and feelings of inadequacy had festered over the years, leading her to believe that poisoning her aunt was the only way to secure her future. This tragic story revealed the complex interplay of emotion, ambition, and morality that exists within even the closest of families. As the story captured the attention of news outlets and local citizens, the Yoder case became a focal point for discussions about family loyalty, the dark potential of jealousy, and the consequences of betrayal. It served as a sobering reminder of how fragility exists beneath the surface of an apparently strong family dynamic. It questioned the very nature of trust and the often hidden struggles people face when navigating family relationships. In the aftermath, the community was left to mourn not only the loss of Mary Yoder, but also the shattering of trust that reverberated through their lives. Families came together to discuss the implications of such betrayals, reinforcing the importance of communication and understanding in their own lives. The tragic tale echoed as a cautionary story, urging others to appreciate their familial bonds and confront jealousy before it could lead to an irreversible outcome. As trials began, the courtroom drama captured the nation's attention, with testimonies painting a vivid picture of the dual lives that had been lived behind closed doors. The niece took the stand, facing accusatory questions about her motives and action. The tension in the room was palpable, as the complexities of human emotion lay bare for all to see. While the legal processes sought justice for Mary Yoder, the community endeavored to redefine itself in the wake of tragedy. Vigil services were held in her honor, reminding everyone of the joy her life had brought and the lessons learned from such a horrific betrayal. It became an occasion for reflection and hope, emphasizing the need for compassion and understanding that transcends familial boundaries. The story of Mary Yoder serves as an immortal reminder that beneath the surface of every family, there is a complex tapestry of emotions and relationships. It highlights how unchecked feelings can spiral into dire consequences and the impact of betrayal that resonates within a community. Such narratives teach us the significance of nurturing our relationships and approaching familial conflicts with empathy and insight. For the bonds we create are often the most powerful forces in our lives. The echoes of this chilling story continue to reverberate, urging all who hear it to take stock of their relationships. They serve as a reminder of the necessity of communication and the importance of understanding our loved ones, assuring that similar tragedies may be avoided in the future. In a gripping tale that captured the attention of the world, the Nancy Kissel Milkshake murder remains one of the most notorious criminal cases in Hong Kong's history. Set against the backdrop of opulence and privilege, this chilling story raises questions about deception, betrayal, and the dark corners of human psychology. Nancy Kissel, an American expatriate, was living a seemingly enviable life with her husband, investment banker Robert Kissel, in Hong Kong's affluent community. They resided in a luxury apartment, surrounded by wealth and comfort. To the outside world, the Kissels appeared to have a perfect marriage. However, beneath the surface lay a turbulent relationship rife with challenges and conflicts. The couple's relationship had started to unravel, marked by allegations of infidelity, financial disputes, and emotional strife. Nancy felt trapped, crushed by the weight of her husband's controlling nature and their failing marriage. As tensions grew, a sense of desperation set in, leading Nancy to contemplate the unthinkable. On the fateful day of the incident, Nancy prepared a seemingly innocent milkshake for Robert, one that would become infamous in the annals of crime. Unbeknownst to him, she had spiked the beverage with a powerful sedative, aiming to incapacitate him. The milkshake was not just a seemingly delightful treat. It was the start of a gruesome plan. After Robert consumed the drugged milkshake, he succumbed to its effects, leaving him vulnerable. In a moment of sheer brutality, Nancy took a heavy object, which would ultimately be defined as a lethal weapon, and bludgeoned her husband. The violence resulted in a tragic end to a complicated relationship, and in that moment, Nancy made a decision that would change her life forever. What followed was a desperate attempt to cover up the crime. Nancy, recognizing the enormity of her actions, went to great lengths to stage the scene as if Robert had simply vanished. She crafted a narrative, one that portrayed herself as a grieving widow, and even attempted to maintain the facade of a normal life. Yet, as with all secrets, the truth has a habit of surfacing. The event soon caught the attention of law enforcement. Investigators conducted a thorough examination, unearthing evidence that would eventually lead them back to Nancy. The initial portrayal of an innocent victim began to unravel, replaced by a more sinister narrative, fueled by jealousy and desire for freedom. As the details of the case emerged, media coverage intensified, creating a media frenzy that gripped Hong Kong and beyond. The public was captivated by the contradictions in Nancy's story, the outward appearances of wealth and happiness clashing with the dark reality of what had transpired. News outlets dissected every detail, and the courtroom drama that followed became a spectacle, drawing in onlookers and spectators, eager to witness the unfolding tragedy. During the trial, the prosecution painted a picture of a woman driven to commit an unspeakable act. They emphasized premeditation, highlighting the meticulous planning that went into drugging Robert and the brutal nature of the crime. Defense attorneys attempted to frame the narrative differently, seeking to elicit sympathy for Nancy's plight within a toxic marriage. The courtroom became a battleground of emotions, featuring expert testimonies, character witnesses, and revelations that would leave audiences questioning what they truly knew about love, loyalty, and betrayal. The jury ultimately delivered a verdict, leading to a sentence that sent shockwaves throughout the community. This case raised poignant conversations about domestic violence, mental health, and the often hidden layers of relationships that can lead individuals down dark paths. The discussion moved beyond just the gruesome details of the murder, delving into the psychology of a woman caught in a turbulent life and the broader societal issues that surround such tragedies. As years passed, the Nancy Kissel case became a cautionary tale, a reminder that the most glamorous exteriors can hide unimaginable darkness. It invites us to reflect on the fragility of human relationships and the complexities of human emotion. The case serves not only as a story of crime, but also as an exploration of the human psyche, revealing how love can turn to hatred and how desperation can push individuals to their limits. The impact of the Nancy Kissel Milkshake murder continues to resonate, ensuring that the tale remains embedded in the chronicles of true crime. It raises the age-old question of what drives an individual to commit acts beyond understanding, and how lives can change in a split second, swept away by circumstances and choices that cannot be undone. This chilling narrative reminds us that beneath the facade of normalcy, the potential for darkness exists in every relationship, and that sometimes truth can be stranger than fiction. The Channon Christian and Christopher Newsom case is a tragic and harrowing story that unfolded in Tennessee in 2007. This case captured national attention, not only because of the brutal nature of the crime, but also due to the deep sense of loss felt by their families and the community. Channon Christian and Christopher Newsom were both bright and promising college students with ambitions and dreams ahead of them. Channon, at the time, was a student at the University of Tennessee, known for her vivacious spirit and enthusiasm for life. Christopher was a student as well, pursuing his passion in a similar academic environment. Their lives were intertwined through their relationship, which was full of laughter, hope, and plans for the future. This love story, however, was tragically cut short in a manner that is difficult to comprehend. On the night of January 6, 2007, the couple went out with friends but found themselves on an unfortunate path. After a night of fun, they were carjacked while sitting in their SUV. What followed was a sequence of events that would lead to unimaginable horror. They were abducted by a group of individuals who had sinister intentions. This crime was not merely an act of robbery. It became a night filled with violence and cruelty that defies description. The perpetrators took them to a house in Knoxville, Tennessee, where they subjected both Channon and Christopher to severe physical and emotional torment. It is reported that they faced horrific torture before their lives were taken away. This case raised alarming questions about violence in society and the safety of individuals, especially young people. It forced the community to confront issues of crime, justice, and the impact on families left behind. The brutal nature of what occurred shocked the nation and highlighted the dark side of society that many prefer to ignore. Attention to the case brought forth a sense of urgency for justice. Community members rallied for awareness and support for the families affected by these devastating acts. Vigils were held, and conversations about safety became more prominent, as everyone reflected on the fragility of life and the importance of community bonds. The legal proceedings that followed were intense. 4 individuals were charged in connection with the crime, and the trials brought to light various aspects of the legal system. The families of Channon and Christopher fought an arduous battle for justice, navigating the emotional toll of reliving their loved one's horrifying story in a courtroom setting. Each day of the trial served as a stark reminder of their loss and the brutality that can exist in the world. Public interest in the case remained significant throughout the trials. Media coverage provided insights into the lives of Channon and Christopher, reflecting their personalities, aspirations, and the love that they shared. This attention, while painful for the families, helped to keep the stories of these young lives alive in the minds of many. It emphasized the need for a thorough examination of the circumstances surrounding such violent crime. The impact of this case extended beyond just the immediate families. It shook communities and called for deeper discussions about violence and its prevention. Many dedicated themselves to raising awareness about crime, advocating for victim rights, and engaging in community safety initiatives. The memory of Channon and Christopher became a rallying point for those seeking to promote peace and security, ensuring that such acts of violence are confronted head-on. The legacy of what happened to Channon Christian and Christopher Newsom is a reminder of the importance of vigilance in our communities, the need for support for victims and their families, and the ongoing conversation about violence in society. They are remembered not only for the horrific circumstances surrounding their deaths, but also for their vibrant lives and the impact they had on those who knew them. In the aftermath of a tragedy like this, it is vital for society to reflect on how we can cultivate a safer environment for everyone. By learning from the past, we can work towards a future where such violence becomes a rarity rather than a common occurrence. It is a call to action for each of us to recognize the value of life, the importance of compassion, and the need for empathy in our daily interactions. Channon and Christopher's story is one of love, promise, and a tragic loss that resonates deeply. It serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of life and the necessity of cherishing every moment. Their legacy encourages a conversation centered on kindness, awareness, and vigilance against the darkness that sometimes lurks in unexpected places. In the spring of 2008, a chilling story unfolded in the small town of Amstetten, Austria, that would capture international attention and elicit both shock and horror. It was in this seemingly quiet town that the Joseph Fritzl case came to light, revealing a dark and disturbing narrative of abuse, deception, and profound human suffering. The story centers around Joseph Fritzl, a man who, to his family and the community, appeared to be an ordinary, albeit eccentric, father and grandfather. However, beneath this facade lay an unfathomable reality. For over 2 decades, Fritzl perpetrated unimaginable acts against his own daughter, Elizabeth. When Elizabeth was just 18 years old, Fritzl lured her into the basement of their home, where he had constructed a secret dungeon. This would become her prison for the next 24 years. Once in the dungeon, the harrowing reality of Elizabeth's situation began. Joseph Fritzl subjected her to a life of isolation, torment, and abuse. He kept her confined in a dark, cramped space that was devoid of any semblance of a normal life. Where Elizabeth had no access to the outside world. She was stripped of her freedom, her identity, and her rights as a human being. In such an environment, the natural human need for connection and social interaction was brutally denied. Over the years of her imprisonment, Elizabeth gave birth to 7 children, the product of her father's systematic abuse. The children were raised in the basement, under appalling conditions, where the absence of sunlight and basic hygiene became their everyday reality. Only 3 of the children would experience life outside the dungeon, while the others remained largely isolated. Joseph claimed that the children were the product of a liaison with a fictional character, concocting a web of lies to explain their existence to the outside world. For years, the rest of the family remained unaware of Elizabeth's fate. Joseph Fritzl presented a crafted narrative, insisting that Elizabeth had run away to join a cult and that he had not seen her in years. In a bizarre twist of fate, when Elizabeth's children grew older, and became more curious about the world beyond their dark confines. Joseph's grip on the situation began to wane. In April 2008, the case finally began to unravel when one of Elizabeth's children, a young boy named Felix, fell seriously ill. Joseph acknowledged the dire situation and, against his instincts of secrecy, took the boy to a hospital. It was there that medical professionals suspected something was amiss. During examinations, they found discrepancies in the family's story, particularly the unique circumstances surrounding Felix's upbringing. This raised enough alarms for hospital staff to alert the authorities. When the police began their investigation, the extent of the horror was slowly revealed. After carefully piecing together evidence from the Fritzl household, they eventually made the shocking discovery of the hidden dungeon. Upon entering the space, they found Elizabeth and her surviving children. Their condition was heart-wrenching. Frail and traumatized after years of confinement, Joseph Fritzl was arrested and eventually tried for his crime. His trial attracted worldwide media attention, and details about the psychological and physical abuse inflicted on Elizabeth and her children emerged. The courtroom became a stage for confronting the stark realities of human depravity, as well as the resilience of the human spirit. Through therapy and support, Elizabeth and her children were slowly given the chance to heal from their harrowing experiences. The community and the world watched as they navigated the complex emotions associated with their recovery, facing a long and arduous road to reclaiming their lives. In the aftermath of the Joseph Fritzl case, discussions about child abuse, mental health, and the failures of systems designed to protect the vulnerable gained prominence. It served as a painful reminder of the importance of vigilance, awareness, and communication within families and communities. Preventing such tragedies requires an unwavering commitment to understanding and addressing the signs of abuse and neglect. This case, while deeply unsettling, also highlighted the strength and courage of survivors. Elizabeth Fritzl, through incredible adversity, emerged as a symbol of resilience. Her journey serves as a testament to the will to survive, reclaiming one's voice after an unimaginable experience. Ultimately, the story of Joseph Fritzl is not just one of horror and disbelief. It also sheds light on the human capacity for hope, survival, and the importance of standing up against injustice. It reminds us of the vital need for compassion and vigilance in our communities, ensuring safety and well-being for those who might otherwise be silenced. The Madyson-Middleton case is a tragic story that shook a community in California in 2015. Madyson, a bright and cheerful girl full of dreams, was only 9 years old when she went missing. The events surrounding her disappearance and the eventual discovery of her fate left a profound impact on many, highlighting the themes of trust, tragedy, and the vulnerabilities of young children. Madyson lived in a neighborhood where she was known for her friendly demeanor. She enjoyed outdoor activities like riding her bike and playing with friends. To many, this idyllic community seemed safe, a perfect place for families to thrive. Every day, children would play freely in the streets, and neighbors would greet each other with smiles. It was a neighborhood built on trust and familiarity. On the day of her disappearance, Madyson's family noticed she had not returned home after playing outside. Initially, the family was not too alarmed, believing she might be at a friend's house. However, as hours turned into a more prolonged absence, concern grew. They began searching the neighborhood, asking friends and neighbors if they had seen her. The sense of urgency escalated as darkness fell, and soon the local authorities were involved in the search. In the days that followed, the community rallied together, organizing search parties and distributing flyers with Madyson's picture. The feeling of unease spread throughout the area. What had happened to this young girl, whose laughter once filled the air? While search teams combed through nearby parks and backyards, many struggled to understand how a child could simply vanish without a trace in a community they perceived as safe. Tragically, Madyson's body was found shortly after in a dumpster, a discovery that left her family and the entire neighborhood in shock. The realization that such a heinous act could happen in their midst was unfathomable. The investigation quickly turned to her neighbor, a young man who, despite being someone the family trusted, had a troubled past. This man was ultimately taken into custody, and authorities uncovered the disturbing details surrounding her death. As the story unfolded, details began to emerge. It was revealed that Madyson had been lured into his home, where the unthinkable occurred. The community grappled with how someone who lived nearby, who had been part of the fabric of their lives, could be capable of such a horrific act. The contrast between the innocence of Madyson's life and the violence she faced painted a somber picture that resonated deeply with people far beyond the neighborhood. This case ignited conversations about safety, trust, and the realities of child abduction. Parents were left shaken, reevaluating how they talked to their children about safety, especially with neighbors they thought they could rely on. The grief and anger that followed were palpable as community members shared their disbelief and sorrow over the loss of a young girl who had so much life ahead of her. Madyson's passing was not just a family tragedy. It became a call to action for many. Vigils held in her memory brought people together, fostering a sense of solidarity amidst heartbreak. In an effort to honor her memory, friends and family campaigned for more stringent safety measures to protect children, advocating for educational programs that would empower children to recognize danger. Discussions around community safety initiatives became more common, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and open communication between neighbors. The trial of Madyson's murderer further captivated and horrified those following the case. As the legal proceedings unfolded, details of the crime were recounted, revealing the chilling realities of the event. This period was marked by a mix of sorrow and outrage from the community as they processed their loss and demanded justice for Madyson. It highlighted deep-seated fears and the darker side of humanity that often lurks beneath the surface, even in the most seemingly safe environments. As time passed, Madyson's story became a point of reflection not just for her community, but for many around the country. It served as a poignant reminder of the need to remain vigilant and aware of our surroundings, the importance of open conversations about safety, and the necessity of addressing mental health issues that often go unnoticed. The legacy of Madyson Middleton lives on as a call for empathy, awareness, and the need for stronger protective measures for children. Her story is a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Through community action and remembrance, the hope remains that such tragedies can be prevented in the future, ensuring that no family will have to endure the heartache that came with Madyson's death. Though she was taken far too soon, Madyson's joyful spirit continues to remind us all of the innocence and light that children bring into the world. Her legacy encourages us to foster a society where every child can feel safe and protected, where trust can flourish, and where communities come together to safeguard their most precious members. Madyson is remembered not only as a victim, but as a symbol of resilience and a beacon of hope for change, urging everyone to be vigilant in their commitment to protecting children from harm. In 1988, a tragic event shook Japan to its core and left a lasting impact on society and the world. Junko Furuta, a 14-year-old schoolgirl, became a victim of unspeakable violence. Her abduction and the horrors she faced while held captive became a somber chapter in Japan's history. Nearly 2 decades later, the case resurfaced in 2004, as one of the perpetrators faced a legal review that rekindled the public's horror and highlighted ongoing societal issues surrounding violence. Junko Furuta was a typical teenager, attending school and engaging with her friends, filled with the hopes and dreams that many young people share. However, on November 25, 1988, her life took a devastating turn when she was kidnapped after leaving school. The ordeal she experienced was not just an isolated incident, but painted a broader picture of the dark realities that can exist within communities. The individuals responsible for Junko's death were not strangers to juvenile delinquency and violence. They were young themselves, but exhibited a shocking capacity for cruel behavior. During her captivity, Junko endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of her abductors. The heinous acts towards her were so severe that they were almost unfathomable. This was not merely a case of kidnapping. It was a prolonged and brutal attack on a defenseless young girl. After Junko's body was discovered, the nation was gripped by outrage. The trials that followed revealed chilling details about her last days, igniting public fury and demands for justice. The justice system faced questions regarding how such brutal acts could be committed by young offenders. Many people felt that the legal system failed to protect vulnerable individuals like Junko. The discussions around juvenile justice laws began to emerge, with calls for revisions to ensure that severe crimes against individuals, regardless of age, would receive serious consequences. Fast forward to 2004, and the case was brought back into the spotlight as one of her kidnappers faced a retrial. The revisiting of this case opened old wounds for many and forced society to confront the failures that allowed such a horrific crime to occur without appropriate punishment. This reconsideration sparked intense media coverage and public discourse around the adequacy of legal repercussions for juvenile offenders. Amidst the renewed attention, people began to reflect on the lingering effects of violence and the need for stronger protections for minors. Advocacy groups emerged, emphasizing the necessity for educational programs aimed at preventing violence, addressing the complex issues surrounding youth crime, and offering support to both victims and perpetrators to break the cycle of violence. Awareness campaigns sought to educate communities about the signs of abuse and the importance of speaking out. Junko's story is a harrowing reminder of the need for vigilance in safeguarding the well-being of individuals, particularly the most vulnerable. Her tragic fate serves as a call to action for society to constantly strive to foster an environment of safety, empathy, and understanding. Even years after her passing, Junko's legacy continues to resonate with many who advocate against violence in all its forms. The discussions around Junko Furuta's case are not simply about revisiting a tragedy, but also about ensuring that such events do not recur. They urge society to examine the underlying issues that contribute to violence, the failings of the justice system, and the critical need for prevention. This dialogue is essential in creating a future where young people can feel secure, respected, and protected. In conclusion, the updates and developments surrounding Junko Furuta's case remind us of the importance of community, compassion, and accountability. As the narratives unfold and the discussions continue, may we strive to learn from the past to create a safer, more compassionate society that honors the memory of victims and works tirelessly to uphold the dignity and rights of every individual. The story of Junko Furuta transcends time, remaining a poignant reminder of both the capacity for harm and the potential for healing through awareness, education, and change. The Sylvia Likens case is one of the most chilling stories in American history, revealing the depths of human cruelty and the failures of society to protect its most vulnerable members. The events surrounding Sylvia's life and tragic death have continued to shock and horrify people for decades. And in 2007, the passing of Gertrude Baniszewski, the woman at the heart of this disturbing case, reignited public interest and discussion. In the early 1960s, Sylvia Likens was born into a troubled family. Her parents struggled with financial and personal issues, leading to a life that was often unstable. As adolescence approached, Sylvia, along with her sister Jenny, was placed in the care of Gertrude Baniszewski, a woman with her own history of hardship. Separated from her parents, Sylvia and Jenny were initially hopeful for a better life. However, Gertrude presented a facade that quickly unraveled, leading to an atmosphere of terror. Gertrude, a mother of several children, lived in a modest home in Indianapolis. In the beginning, she seemed cordial and welcoming, but it wasn't long before her darker tendencies surfaced. She was struggling with her own emotional issues, a point that many argue contributed to her actions. With the Likens sisters under her roof, Gertrude's behavior grew more erratic and abusive, revealing an alarming lack of empathy and compassion. The situation escalated dramatically as Gertrude began to lash out at Sylvia, regularly subjecting her to physical and psychological abuse. This escalated to horrifying levels as other neighborhood children and even Gertrude's own children joined in the torment. They would taunt and beat Sylvia, treating her more like an animal than a child. The profound betrayal Sylvia experienced from the very people meant to protect her is unimaginable. The abuse was brutal and relentless. Sylvia was denied food, housed in squalid conditions, and subjected to horrific acts of violence. Her health deteriorated alarmingly over time. Rather than seeking assistance or showing concern for Sylvia's suffering, those around her turned a blind eye, a reflection of the alarming societal failures that enabled this tragedy. Gertrude's manipulation of her children, along with a toxic environment of indifference from others in the community, created a perfect storm where brutality could thrive unchecked. In the autumn of 1965, the severity of Sylvia's condition became evident. She was emaciated, covered with bruises, and had suffered severe wounds. Despite her obvious plight, help was not forthcoming. Tragically, Sylvia's life came to a grim end in October of that year. She died as a direct result of the sustained abuse she suffered at the hands of Gertrude and a group of other local children. The horror of her last days resonated across the nation, raising critical questions about child protection laws and the responsibilities of adults in situations of abuse. The aftermath of Sylvia's death was met with intense media coverage. The trials that followed revealed the extent of the atrocities she had faced and the complicity of those who participated. Gertrude Baniszewski, along with several accomplices, was charged with murder. The trials were harrowing, exposing the raw emotions surrounding this tragic case. Testimonies from witnesses barely scratched the surface of the pain and despair Sylvia had endured during her short life. In the wake of the case, public outrage was palpable. People grappled with the harrowing realization that such cruelty could exist in their communities. It elicited changes in laws, heightened recognition of child abuse, and efforts to better educate the public about the signs of abuse. It was a somber reminder that vigilance is essential in the care of children. Gertrude Baniszewski's death in 2007 served as a stark reminder of the mysteries that shroud cases of extreme cruelty. Discussions around Sylvia Likens' story continued to ebb and flow in the media and literature, revealing a deep fascination with understanding how such atrocities could occur. People sought to comprehend the complexities of human behavior that could lead someone to become a perpetrator of violence against an innocent child. The conversation spurred by Sylvia's case brought to light the broader societal issues, including the importance of fostering empathy in communities and understanding the psychological complexities involved in abusive behavior. As each generation revisits this painful narrative, the hope remains that through education and awareness, society can create an environment that protects its children and ensures a future where abuse of any form is no longer tolerated. In essence, the Sylvia Likens case continues to serve as a profound lesson about vigilance, compassion, and the duty to protect those who cannot protect themselves. It is an enduring topic of conversation that illustrates the need for change and a commitment to ensuring that the horrors of the past never repeat themselves. Each retelling of Sylvia's story becomes a voice for the voiceless, ensuring that her tragic fate is not forgotten, and inspiring a call to action for a safer, more nurturing world for all children. In the tranquil town of County Cork, Ireland, a horrifying crime took place in the year 2005 that would leave a deep imprint on both the local community and the broader public consciousness. This unsettling event involved the tragic story of two sisters who became known to the world as the Scissor sisters. Their tale, a mix of desperation and dark decision-making, is one that many have tried to understand, questioning the intricate layers of family dynamics, trauma, and morality. The sisters, whose love for one another was forged in a shared history of suffering, found themselves in a situation that many could scarcely imagine. Growing up in a challenging environment, they faced physical and emotional struggles, particularly due to the presence of their mother's boyfriend, a man whose abusive tendencies cast a long shadow over their lives. This situation cultivated a sense of loyalty between the sisters, a bond so deep that it would ultimately lead them down a harrowing path. On a fateful day in early summer, a confrontation escalated. The abusive boyfriend crossed a line that could no longer be tolerated. In a moment of rage fueled by years of pent-up trauma and pain, the sisters acted in a way that was shocking to anyone who would later hear about the incident. What began as an act of self-defense turned into a tragic series of events that culminated in the murder of the man who had tormented them for so long. The aftermath of this incident sent shockwaves through their community. Some were quick to condemn the sisters, viewing their actions as unfathomably wrong, while others, particularly those familiar with the dynamics of domestic abuse, showed a degree of understanding. This polarization of opinions highlighted not just the disturbing nature of the crime, but also the underlying issues of domestic violence that often remain hidden behind closed doors. As the legal proceedings unfolded, media coverage intensified, magnifying the sisters' plight. The story was no longer just a local tragedy. It had become a sensational narrative that captivated the nation. Many were drawn to the sisters' backstory, reflecting on the complexities of abuse and the lengths one might go to protect a loved one. It raised poignant questions about morality and justice. Were the sisters victims or perpetrators? Most intriguingly, what drives individuals to commit acts of violence, especially those who were once seen as innocent? Though the sisters' actions were extreme, they brought attention to a critical issue faced by countless families. The interactions between the sisters, their shared experiences, and their ultimate response to their traumatic childhood resonated with many, particularly women who had experienced similar situations. Their tale, though tragic, served as a broader commentary on the need for better resources and support systems to address domestic violence. As the trial drew near, discussions about victimization and self-defense became central to the narrative. The legal system grappled with how to approach the case, weighing the sisters' experiences against the severity of their action. It ignited debates beyond the courtroom, reaching into the public sphere, where activists and community leaders began voicing the need for greater awareness and education surrounding domestic abuse. Throughout the trial, the sisters' story remained a fixture in the media, influencing public sentiment and sparking difficult conversations about the circumstances that often mask such horrific acts of violence. Many wondered how society should respond to individuals driven to desperation by their circumstances, and what measures could be put in place to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. Though the sisters ultimately faced severe consequences for their actions, their story opened up a necessary dialogue about the complexities of abuse and the human psyche. It reminded us that behind every crime, there is often a narrative steeped in pain and suffering that challenges our understanding of justice and morality. The Scissor sisters' ordeal serves as a chilling reminder of the darker sides of human relationships and the extreme lengths individuals may go to in protecting one another. Their lives, marked by tragedy, reflect a broader societal issue that transcends borders and cultures, urging communities to confront and address the pervasive problem of domestic violence with compassion and urgency. In reflecting on their story, it is essential to remember that the issue is not solely about the actions of the two sisters, but rather a complex interplay of circumstances that prompted a desperate choice. As society moves forward, it must grapple with such realities, advocating for change not only in how abusive situations are handled, but also in fostering environments where love and safety can exist without fear. Through understanding and empathy, communities can begin to heal and prevent future tragedies, supporting those who find themselves within the web of abuse. In the early 2000s, Ukraine became the backdrop for one of the most harrowing tales of crime and brutality, involving two men from Dnepropetrovsk outfit. Known as the Dnepropetrovsk Maniacs, this duo unleashed a wave of terror that shocked the nation and reverberated around the globe. Their story is not just a chilling account of violence. It poses deep questions about human nature and the darkness that can lie within. The two men, aged just 19 and 20 at the time of their crimes, were initially described as ordinary youth. However, what unfolded was nothing short of a horror film. They embarked on a spree between June and July of 2007, during which they committed a series of chilling and brutal murders. But what set these crimes apart was not just their brutality. The perpetrators captured some of these horrific acts on video, intertwining the macabre with a shocking callousness that would leave an indelible mark on society. The motivations behind their actions were complex. Some reports suggested that they were driven by a thirst for notoriety, a desire to document their gruesome acts as evidence of their power and dominance over life and death. Experts have explored the psychological aspects of their behaviors, suggesting that perhaps a lack of empathy and a warped sense of reality paved the way for their violent tendencies. It is an unsettling reminder of how the human mind can sometimes spiral into a realm of darkness with little warning. As the investigations unfolded, the shocking details of their crimes came to light. They targeted random victims, often innocent individuals going about their day-to-day lives. The brutality with which they approached their acts was not just brutal, but methodical. They used various weapons, including blunt objects, showcasing a terrifying creativity in their violence. Each murder seemed to escalate, as if they were engaged in a deadly contest with themselves, constantly trying to outdo their previous acts. The haunting aspect of their story lies not only in the crimes, but also in the cold indifference they exhibited. Witnesses and investigators described how the killers displayed a disturbing sense of enjoyment in their acts. The videos they produced served not only to document their crimes, but also to feed their perverse sense of pride. In an age where the internet serves as both a stage and a prison, their actions raised profound questions about the relationship between technology and human behavior. Eventually, law enforcement agencies tightened their search for the duo. The city's atmosphere became one of fear, with locals wary of their surroundings, knowing that danger lurked among them. The once vibrant streets of Dnepropetrovsk turned into a landscape painted with dread, as the community was ripped apart by the aftermath of these heinous crimes. The eventual capture of the Dnepropetrovsk Maniacs marked the beginning of a long legal battle and an intense media storm. Their trial brought more attention to their shocking acts and reignited public discussions on violence and its portrayal in media. The courtroom became a battleground of psychological evaluations, debates on morality, and questions about justice. What does it mean to be accountable for such actions? How does one reconcile with the real-life horror that unfolds in the name of human agency? In the years following their sentencing, stories of the Dnepropetrovsk Maniacs continued to circulate, feeding the curiosity of those looking to understand the complexities of crime and punishment. Documentaries were produced, books were written, and discussions thrived in both academic circles and popular culture. Their story became a lens through which people examined not just violent crime, but also broader societal issues such as mental health, morality, and the impact of modern technology on human behavior. This saga serves as a stark reminder of the duality of human nature, the potential for both good and evil that resides within us all. It encourages reflection on what leads individuals to commit unspeakable acts and challenges us to consider how society can prevent such tragedies while fostering genuine compassion and understanding among individuals. As time marches on, the lessons learned from the dark chapters of history like that of the Dnepropetrovsk Maniacs remain ever relevant. They compel us to confront the shadows that exist within our communities, calling for vigilance against the forces that might drive individuals toward violence. In exploring this narrative, we engage with the intricacies of human behavior, societal influences, and the structure of morality in a world that, at times, seems to blur the lines between light and dark. The haunting legacy of their actions will resonate as an important discussion point about human capacity for both creation and destruction, reminding us that the questions raised by their story are just as essential today as they were when their crimes were first committed. Let us carry forward the knowledge gleaned from such dark histories, striving for understanding, empathy, and above all, a commitment to healing. In the quiet of Florida's suburban landscape, a tragic story unfolded in 2009 that shook a community to its core. The Cummings family, once associated with joy and laughter, became entwined in a dark narrative marked by violence and heartbreak. This family, consisting of a mother and her 5 young children, was the victim of an unimaginable crime, a tragedy that would linger in the minds of many. The story centers around a devoted mother, an image of love and care for her children. She was known to neighbors as an attentive parent who worked hard to provide for her family. Her life, however, was intertwined with a complex relationship with her estranged husband. Their marriage had been fraught with difficulties, leading to separation. This estrangement, often a source of tension, developed into a situation filled with uncertainty and fear. As the days turned into weeks, signs of trouble began to arise. Domestic disputes erupted, and a history of conflict turned prescient as it escalated. The estranged husband, who was once a part of their lives, became a looming shadow against the hope of a peaceful future. Rumors swirled, and whispers of fear filled the air as friends and family became increasingly concerned for the safety of this mother and her children. On that fateful day in 2009, the tranquility of their home was shattered in an act of devastating violence. The children's cries for help echoed through the walls, but they would be silenced forever. The details of the following events would emerge slowly, revealing the horror of what transpired. The loss of a mother and her children was a stark reminder of how delicate life can be, and how quickly it can turn into a nightmare. The aftermath of the incident left a community reeling. Neighbors came together, offering support and mourning together for lives lost far too soon. Vigils were held, flowers were laid at the scene, and cries for justice echoed. The case, a somber tale, also brought forth discussions about the realities of domestic violence, the warning signs that are often overlooked, and the importance of community support in times of crisis. In the months that followed, investigators meticulously pieced together the events leading up to that day. A deeper examination revealed not just a narrative of a family torn apart, but also the complex dynamics of relationships steeped in violence and control. Witnesses spoke about changes they noticed in the mother, the fear that clouded her once vibrant spirit, and the isolation that often accompanies such tragic situations. As the legal proceedings began, the public's attention was captured by the details of the case. It became evident that the issue was not just a crime committed in isolation, but rather a reflection of larger societal concerns regarding mental health, the cycles of violence, and the struggles many face when trying to escape toxic relationships. Advocates emerged from the shadows, urging a change in how society views and responds to domestic violence. The Cummings family murders served as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the consequences of untreated issues within intimate relationship. It sparked conversations about prevention, awareness, and the importance of making safe choices in relationship. This tragedy became a pivotal moment, encouraging many to reach out when they noticed signs of distress in themselves or others. Years later, the impact of this devastating story lingers. The community memorializes the lives lost and reflects on the lessons learned. Initiatives aimed at supporting families affected by domestic violence have emerged, striving to ensure that no other family faces such a horrific fate. The Cummings family will forever be remembered, not just as victims of a tragedy, but as a catalyst for change. In the end, this story goes beyond the horrifying details of the crime. It speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, the importance of community, and the continuing fight against the silent epidemic of domestic violence. Although the pain of loss remains, the hope for a future where families can thrive in peace persists. Through remembrance and advocacy, their legacy aims to inspire change, urging us all to be vigilant and compassionate, supporting those who might be suffering in silence. In 2013, a tragic and shocking event unfolded in Canada that would not only capture headlines, but also reveal the dark secrets of a seemingly ordinary individual. This is the story of Tim Bosma and the chilling truth behind his murder. Tim Bosma, a 32-year-old man from Ancaster, Ontario, was a husband and a dedicated family man. He was known for his good nature and as a hard-working individual who owned a small business. Tim had decided to sell his pickup truck and posted an advertisement online, hoping to find a buyer. On May 6, 2013, he met two men who expressed interest in taking the truck for a test drive. Little did he know that this would be the last time anyone would see him alive. The men, later identified as Dellen Millard and his accomplice, were not just regular buyers. Dellen Millard was a man with a charming exterior that masked a more sinister side. He was born into a well-off family and had once worked in his family's airplane manufacturing business. However, behind the curtain of privilege, Millard led a life that was both extravagant and reckless. He was known for his love of luxury, fast cars, and the thrill of the chase, but it also became clear that he had darker inclinations. During the test drive, something went terribly wrong. Tim never returned home after leaving for what should have been a simple trip. When his wife, Charlene, realized that something was wrong, she alerted the authorities. The police quickly mobilized, launching a massive search operation to find Tim, which involved not only local resources, but also the community rallying together to help locate him. As the investigation unfolded, evidence began to emerge, pointing towards Millard and his cohort. Eyewitnesses reported seeing Tim's truck in the possession of the suspects. Surveillance footage and phone records painted a clearer picture of their movements and interactions. By piecing together the clues, investigators delved deeper into the lives of Millard and his accomplice, only to uncover more disturbing elements. Dellen Millard's life was more than just a pursuit of success. He was a man with a growing list of questionable activities that included not only the murder of Tim Bosma, but also other criminal undertakings that had yet to be fully revealed to the public. Once considered a boy with a promising future, there were now whispers of his connections to darker elements, as well as indications of a lifestyle marked by drugs, parties, and increasingly violent behavior. The evidence collected by the police led to the arrest of Millard and his accomplice. As the case gained more media attention, it revealed the shocking nature of their actions. Investigators found that Millard had a hidden life that contradicted the image of a reputable businessman. He was charged and brought to trial, where details of the crime were laid bare for all to see. The courtroom was filled with tension as the proceedings began. Families, friends, and concerned citizens watched closely as the prosecution presented their evidence. Eyewitness accounts, digital traces, and forensic evidence built a case that argued against Millard's claims of innocence. He portrayed himself as a victim of circumstance, suggesting that his involvement was overblown or misinterpreted. Despite his attempts to deflect blame, the narrative of a callous murderer began to solidify in the eyes of the jury. Testimonies revealed the disturbing reality of the crime. Tim Bosma was not just a statistic, but a person with dreams, hopes, and a family that loved him. The emotional weight of the case pressed heavily upon everyone involved, as the true extent of Dellen Millard's acts became painfully clear. Investigators uncovered that Millard had used a burn barrel to dispose of evidence, an act that showed premeditation in his decision to take a life. As the trial progressed, the courtroom atmosphere shifted between disbelief, anger, and sorrow, compounded by the grief of Tim's loved ones. Each revelation added layers to Millard's story, transforming him from a man who was once an enigma into something far more complex and unsettling. After enduring weeks of testimony and evidence, the jury reached a decision. The verdict was delivered in a somber courtroom, where emotions ran high. Dellen Millard was found guilty of first-degree murder, and his accomplice faced similar charges. This case marked a pivotal moment in Canadian criminal history, igniting discussions around the idea of evil and the capacity of individuals to commit acts so heinous. The legacy of Tim Bosma is one of both tragedy and resilience. His memory lives on in the hearts of those who knew him, and through the conversations that continue to resonate in society about violence, safety, and the human capacity for both good and evil. Dellen Millard's double life serves as a chilling reminder of how appearances can be deceiving, and that darkness can linger even in the most unexpected places. This case stands as a stark and unsettling narrative that forces us to confront the complexities of human nature, the dangers that may lurk behind closed doors, and the impact one person's actions can have on the lives of many. Tim Bosma's story, though tragic, echoes in a world that is always striving to understand the depths of humanity. In 2002, a decision regarding Eric Smith captured the attention of the nation, igniting discussions about justice, rehabilitation, and the complexities of youthful crimes. Smith's case is particularly striking due to the shocking circumstances surrounding it, and the implications it has for the legal system and society as a whole. Eric Smith was just 13 years old when he committed a horrific crime in 1993. He lured a younger boy, 5-year-old Derek Roby, into the woods near their town of Wayne County, New York, and tragically ended his life. The brutality of the act stunned not only the local community, but also sparked national outrage. As a young teenager, the gravity of his actions raised significant questions about accountability, mental health, and the implications of punishing minors for adult crimes. The details of the crime were undeniably troubling. Smith, who had been bullied and struggled with social interactions, was described as an unusual child with deep-seated issues. His actions were fueled by a combination of factors, including his turbulent home life and his own experiences of isolation. This background led many to contemplate whether his criminal behavior was a reflection of his mental state rather than pure malice. After his arrest, Smith underwent a trial that was highly publicized. During this process, the court had to grapple with the complexities of adjudicating a minor. In 1994, he was convicted of second-degree murder and received the sentence of 9 years to life in prison. This decision itself was controversial as it set a significant precedent for how the judicial system handles juvenile offenders accused of severe crime. As the years progressed, the focus shifted from the past actions of Eric Smith to his potential for rehabilitation. Parole hearings were held regularly starting in the late 1990s, and each time the case garnered significant media attention. People were divided in their opinions. Some believed that Smith had transformed during his time in prison and deserved a chance at reintegration into society, while others vehemently opposed any possibility of his release, given the gravity of his crime. During parole hearings, Smith presented himself as a changed man. He expressed remorse and outlined the steps he had taken to better himself while incarcerated. He participated in therapy and programs designed to address behavioral issues, showing a commitment to personal growth. These transformations included obtaining a high school diploma and engaging in various rehabilitation programs that highlighted learning and self-reflection. However, the emotional weight of his actions continued to burden the discussions. Family members of the victim, Derek Roby, spoke passionately at these hearings, sharing their grief and the lasting impact the murder had on their lives. The wounds of loss were evident, and the pain in their testimonies spoke volumes about the enduring nature of such tragedies. They raised essential questions about safety and the potential risk associated with releasing a person who had committed such a heinous act, regardless of their age at the time of the crime. Throughout the 2000s, Smith's life in prison became a subject of interest beyond the courtroom. Members of the public and various organizations followed his story closely, debating the implications of juvenile justice reform and considering how society deals with young offenders. This case encouraged a broader examination of the juvenile justice system and the challenges in balancing punishment with the potential for rehabilitation. In 2002, the Parole Board ultimately made a decision that would renew national attention on Smith's case. After years of being denied, Smith was granted a conditional release, but the decision was not without its controversies. The board's ruling highlighted the ongoing debates about murder, youth, and chances at redemption. Their decision was juxtaposed against the families, still grappling with their immense loss, illustrating how complicated and multifaceted the issue of juvenile crime can be. As the years passed, Eric Smith's case continued to echo in conversations around juvenile justice and reform. It served as a stark reminder that the path to rehabilitation is not straightforward, and the consequences of one's actions, even taken at a young age, reverberate through lives and communities long after the initial event. The complexities surrounding his decision reflect the broader societal struggle to reconcile notions of justice, personal transformation, and the importance of seeking a solution that recognizes the humanity in even the most serious offenders. Ultimately, the story of Eric Smith remains a pivotal chapter in discussions about crime, justice, and the potential for change, shaping opinions and policies that influence how we view young individuals in the penal system and how we define accountability in the face of unimaginable tragedy. In 2007, the tragic case of Kenya Channon captured the attention of the world, illustrating the darker side of tourism in a country that was largely celebrated for its stunning landscapes and vibrant culture. Kenya Channon was a British tourist who had traveled to Kenya to volunteer, seeking to make a positive impact in the communities she visited. Like many travelers, she embarked on her journey with a spirit of adventure and goodwill, eager to lend her skills and help those in need. Unfortunately, her story ended in heartbreak and sparked significant scrutiny over the Kenyan justice system. Kenya Channon was in her 20s when she arrived in Kenya, ready to engage with local communities and contribute to various charitable projects. Her enthusiasm for the local culture brought her into contact with other tourists and locals. But little did she know that her journey would take a dark turn. One fateful day, while she was in a popular tourist area, she encountered a series of events that would lead to her untimely death. Following her disappearance, friends and family grew increasingly concerned, as it was uncharacteristic of her to suddenly cut off communication. Efforts to locate her intensified, drawing attention from both local authorities and the media. The search for Kenya Channon became a focal point of local news, capturing the interest of a nation grappling with the implications of her disappearance. When her body was eventually discovered, the shocking details of her death led to widespread outrage. The sense of vulnerability that permeated the tourist community underscored a significant concern regarding safety for visitors in regions that are often touted as idyllic and welcoming. The investigation that followed exposed not only the brutal realities of her murder, but also the systemic issues within the Kenyan legal framework that were brought to light in the weeks that followed. As authorities worked to unravel the circumstances surrounding her death, they faced scrutiny over their ability to effectively manage such cases. Questions arose regarding the efficiency with which the police were conducting the investigation, and whether existing resources were sufficient to ensure justice for victims. Accusations began to surface regarding inadequate training and possible corruption within certain sectors, casting a shadow on the mechanisms intended to protect citizens and visitors alike. Public outrage demanded accountability, resulting in calls for reform within the justice system. Advocacy groups sprang into action, aiming to address the concerns raised by Kenya's tragic case. These organizations work to highlight not only the urgent need for improved safety measures for travelers, but also broader issues such as women's rights and the treatment of crime in society. The impact of Kenya Channon's case went beyond the immediate tragedy. It became a catalyst for change. Community leaders and activists banded together, urging the government to take tangible steps toward reform. Forums were organized, discussions held, and initiatives launched to ensure that no voice would go unheard in the quest for justice and safety. Tourism is an essential sector for Kenya's economy, providing livelihoods for countless families and fostering a rich exchange of cultures. However, the complexities of safety in such a volatile environment pose ongoing challenges. The legacy of Kenya Channon's story stands as a sobering reminder of the disparities that exist, even in places that seem perfect from the outside. As reforms were discussed and implemented, a broader conversation about the need for systemic change grew louder. The case became emblematic of the fight against violence, particularly gender-based violence, and underscored the importance of building safer communities. Advocacy for stronger legal protections gained momentum, and calls for better training for law enforcement personnel became critical in reshaping the landscape of safety and justice in the region. Though Kenya Channon's life was tragically cut short, her story continues to resonate, reminding society of the vital importance of vigilance, empathy, and action in the face of injustice. Her case instigated a grounded conversation, not only about the fate of those who travel, but also about the responsibility of societies to protect those who seek connection and understanding in foreign lands. For travelers venturing into new territories, understanding local customs, laws, and the socio-political climate is essential. It fosters respect and awareness, contributing to a richer experience. Awareness of safety protocols and community initiatives can enhance the journey, empowering individuals to navigate their adventures more securely and responsibly. The narrative of Kenya Channon is one that evokes a tapestry of emotion and reflection, an invitation to honor those who have been lost while pushing for a better tomorrow, one where safety and justice prevail. It challenges readers and listeners alike to consider how they can contribute to such efforts, heightening consciousness around travel safety and advocacy for justice in every corner of the world. In conclusion, the reflection on Kenya Channon's tragic case serves as a reminder of the complexities associated with travel, justice, and advocacy. It encourages individuals to remain informed, engaged, and compassionate as they navigate their journeys through the diverse and often challenging landscape of global cultures and communities. As discussions continue around this landmark case, it reinforces the importance of ensuring safety and justice for all. In the annals of American criminal history, few names resonate as powerfully as O.J. Simpson. A figure once celebrated for his prowess on the football field, O.J. became a household name not just because of his athletic achievements, but due to a series of dramatic legal battles that captured the nation's attention. Among these, the events surrounding the Las Vegas robbery in 2007 stand out, marking a poignant chapter in his life that revisited a media landscape already saturated with intrigue about his past. In September 2007, O.J. Simpson entered a Las Vegas hotel room with a group of associates, intent on retrieving items he claimed were stolen from him. The items in question included memorabilia from his illustrious football career and personal belongings he felt rightfully belonged to him. However, the events that unfolded in that hotel suite would shift Simpson's narrative from one of an icon to that of a convicted criminal. The encounter quickly escalated, Witnesses later described how Simpson and his associates, some of whom were armed, demanded the memorabilia at gunpoint. This bold move was a stark contrast to the image Simpson had crafted over the years. He was a star, someone admired for his athleticism and charisma, not a man allegedly engaging in criminal behavior. The shockwaves of this incident rippled through media outlets and the American public, reigniting discussions about his past and the trials that had previously overshadowed his sports career. Simpson's involvement in the infamous double murder trial in the mid-1990s had already put him in the spotlight. The highly publicized prosecution and subsequent acquittal on charges of murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman had transformed him from a beloved sports figure into a polarizing symbol of race, celebrity, and justice in America. This complex narrative was revisited with fervor in the wake of the Las Vegas event. Many viewed the robbery as a culmination of years of turmoil, as the weight of public scrutiny and legal challenges wore heavily on him. The legal ramifications of the Vegas robbery were swift and severe. Simpson was charged with multiple felonies, including armed robbery and kidnapping. The trial that followed was closely followed by a nation eager for more drama and spectacle from a figure who had dominated headlines for over a decade. In 2008, Simpson was sentenced to 33 years in prison, a considerable term reflecting the state's determination to send a message about accountability, especially given Simpson's previous brushes with the law. What made the Vegas robbery particularly compelling was the way it encapsulated themes of loss, desperation, and the quest for redemption. Simpson's need to reclaim what he viewed as his possessions symbolized a deeper yearning, perhaps to regain a sense of control over his life, which had spiraled into chaos following his earlier legal battles. One might say that this was a man grappling with his identity in an environment that had both adored and vilified him. The trial and conviction brought back agonizing memories for many following the events surrounding his earlier trials. The images of Simpson in court, often scrutinized and dissected on television, resurfaced in media stories and documentaries. The public fascination with his life and choices seemed unending. Analysts and commentators took to various platforms to discuss the implications of his actions, the cultural significance of such a reversal in fortune, and what it meant for discussions surrounding celebrity and accountability. As time passed, Simpson's experiences resonated with broader themes within society. The narratives of celebrity culture, the justice system, and the sometimes fragile nature of public perception all seem to coalesce around his story. His journey reflects a powerful commentary on the complex interplay between fame, accountability, and the personal decisions that can lead individuals down unexpected paths. It's a vivid reminder of how the choices we make can lead us to unimaginable consequences. The O.J. Simpson saga is one of numerous stories in American history that prompts reflection on societal issues ranging from race to justice. His ventures into the realm of crime, particularly the Las Vegas robbery, serve as a stark juxtaposition to his previous life, illustrating how individuals navigate their legacies in unpredictable ways. With a history like Simpson's, the lines between hero and villain become blurred, and the societal fascination with the spectacle of his life continues to provoke thought and discussion. While time marches on, O.J. Simpson remains a figure who sparks intrigue and debate, a testament to the power of narrative in shaping public perception. His life, an intricate tapestry woven with triumphs and failures, continues to remind us of the complexities of the human experience and the tapestry of choices that can lead us on varied journey. As we reflect on the events of 2007 and beyond, we are reminded that every story has layers, and every individual is multifaceted, a dance between fame, misfortune, and the relentless pursuit of redemption. In the realm of true crime, few cases evoke as much horror and fascination as the Sean Vincent Gillis murders. This chilling narrative unfolds in Louisiana, where a seemingly ordinary man became one of the state's most notorious serial killers. The story begins in the late 1990s, when authorities started noticing a disturbing pattern in a series of disappearances and murders. Sean Vincent Gillis was born in 1960 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a place steeped in culture and history, but also home to a darker side. His early life appeared unremarkable, but as he grew older, indications of troubling behavior began to surface. His obsession with violence and macabre art became evident, and these interests would later manifest in tragic and terrifying ways. The investigation into his crimes began in 1999, when the bodies of young women started appearing in and around Baton Rouge. Each case shares similarities, and soon the patterns revealed a most disturbing profile. The victims were often vulnerable individuals, and their tragic ends raised alarm bells about a potential serial killer on the loose. Gillis was apprehended in 2000, when police, following leads and tips, finally connected the dots between him and the horrifying discoveries. At the time of his arrest, he was not only a suspect in the disappearances, but also had a history of violent behavior. The chilling evidence soon began to surface. During the police investigation, officers discovered a collection of photographs that deepened the horror surrounding Gillis. These photos, taken by the killer himself, documented not only his victims, but also gruesome scenes that told a twisted story of his reign of terror. This shocking revelation further illustrated the lengths to which he had gone, slipping through the cracks of society while engaging in heinous acts of violence. Gillis eventually confessed to the murders, shocking investigators with the details he provided. He described his motivations, revealing a disturbing blend of fantasy and compulsive behavior. He admitted to the thrill he experienced during the commission of his crimes, a sinister excitement that drove him to continue his violent spree. His trial brought a mix of emotions from the public: fear, revulsion, and a chilling curiosity. The trial became a media spectacle, as people desperately sought to understand the mind of a killer. In an age where information spreads rapidly, the complexities of Gillis's psyche were analyzed and dissected by criminologists and psychologists, trying to make sense of his actions. Gillis was eventually convicted of multiple murders, and he was sentenced to life in prison. But the case didn't end with his confinement. The impact of his crimes rippled throughout the community and beyond. It forced discussions about public safety, the support systems for potential victims, and the societal structures that may have contributed to such a tragedy. Local law enforcement faced increased scrutiny, and campaigns emerged to educate young women about personal safety. The darker side of human nature, revealed by the Sean Vincent Gillis murders, seemed almost too surreal to process. While many feel haunted by the thought of such evil, there is a collective sense of resilience among the communities who suffered. In reflecting on the horror, many individuals have found strength in supporting one another, advocating for justice, and working to ensure that such brutality is not repeated. Gillis' story is a haunting reminder of the capacity for darkness that exists within humanity. It invites tough questions about society, the nature of evil, and how we recognize and respond to threats that lurk in seemingly everyday life. As we delve into the complexities of such cases, we uncover not just the narratives of the killers, but also the stories of the victims, whose lives were tragically cut short. The chilling details and photographs from the Gillis murders remain etched in the minds of those who understand the gravity of his actions. They evoke a sense of urgency to address the issues at hand, ensuring that communities come together to fight against the forces of darkness. Each story of survival and resilience serves as a beacon of hope, illuminating the path toward healing in the aftermath of tragedies that have shaken us to our core. Thus, the case of Sean Vincent Gillis continues to resonate, sparking conversations about crime, morality, and the societal responsibilities we hold to prevent the horrors of the past from repeating. The legacy of this narrative compels us to remain vigilant and aware, ever striving to understand and mitigate the darkness that can sometimes seep into our world. In the quiet suburbs of Melbourne, Australia, a tragic event unfolded that shocked the community and drew attention across the nation. The story revolves around a young girl named Rachel Barber. Rachel was a vibrant teenager, full of life and aspirations, deeply loved by her family and friends. She excelled in her studies and had dreams that extended far beyond her years. Unfortunately, her life was cut short in a way that no one could have foreseen. In 2003, when Rachel was just 16 years old, she disappeared under baffling circumstances. Her parents reported her missing when she failed to return home after a day out. As days turned into weeks, the search intensified, with friends, family, and volunteers joining in an effort to find her. The media coverage breathed life into the search, bringing attention to Rachel's case and urging anyone with information to come forward. However, despite the widespread attention, leads were scarce. The investigation eventually took a dramatic turn when authorities discovered that Rachel had been last seen with a woman named Caroline, who was her babysitter. Caroline, a figure trusted by Rachel's family, had assumed a role that many would see as protective and caring. However, beneath this facade lay a chilling motive. Caroline harbored a desire to steal Rachel's identity, envisioning a life for herself that was not her own. As the police delved deeper into the case, Caroline's character unraveled. Friends and acquaintances painted a picture of a troubled woman who had faced significant challenges in her life. Struggling with personal issues, Caroline became fixated on the idea of adopting Rachel's identity. This fixation tragically spiraled into a deadly obsession. The authorities began to piece together the events leading up to Rachel's disappearance. They uncovered evidence that Caroline had lured Rachel into her home, where the unthinkable occurred. Rachel had trusted her, a betrayal that would lead to devastating consequences. The details that emerged from the investigation were harrowing and heartbreaking, revealing a confrontation that spiraled dangerously out of control. When Caroline was apprehended, the cold reality of her actions shattered the hopes of a community that had rallied around Rachel's search. The motive of identity theft was twisted and shocking, raising questions about how far one could go to escape their life and inhabit another's. Investigators found that Caroline had meticulously planned this heinous act, contemplating how to assume Rachel's life, an innocent girl whose future was just beginning. In the wake of the tragedy, the case left a profound mark on the community. Rachel's story became a poignant reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind seemingly innocent faces. The fear and sadness permeated the area, as neighbors could no longer feel completely safe in their own homes. Rachel's family was devastated, finding it nearly impossible to reconcile the vibrant life they had known with the tragic ending that had occurred. The trial that followed was a highly publicized affair, as the community sought justice for Rachel. Caroline's defense was built upon attempts to portray her as a victim of her own circumstances, but the evidence was overwhelmingly against her. People flocked to the courtroom, eager to witness the proceedings and support Rachel's family. They sought closure in a process that was emotionally charged and deeply moving. Through the trial, the brutality of Caroline's actions was laid bare, and the depths of her betrayal illustrated a chilling narrative of trust and treachery. The verdict brought a semblance of resolution, but it did little to mend the shattered hearts of those who loved Rachel. The impact of the murder extended beyond Rachel's immediate circle, resonating throughout the entire community and sparking conversations about safety, trust, and vigilance. As time passed, Rachel Barber was remembered in thoughtful ways. Tributes poured in, her story becoming a cautionary tale referenced in discussions surrounding awareness and the importance of knowing those who are trusted in our lives. Memorials were held, celebrating her life and the promising future that was so unjustly stolen. The local community came together to support one another, sharing memories and honoring Rachel's legacy. In reflecting upon this tragic event, it is crucial to acknowledge the complexities of human behavior. The desire for connection and escape can lead individuals down dark paths, and it often raises more questions than answers. Rachel's story serves as a somber reminder of the vulnerabilities we all possess, and the importance of looking out for one another. Ultimately, the legacy of Rachel Barber is one of resilience and remembrance. Despite the tragic circumstances of her untimely death, her spirit continues to resonate. Conversations about safety, trust, and the importance of community have become more prominent, ensuring that Rachel's story will not be forgotten. It reminds us to cherish the moments we have and to remain vigilant in our relationships. For we never truly know the struggles that others may be facing behind closed doors. It emphasizes the need for compassion and understanding, serving as a calling to remember not just the tragedy, but the vibrancy of life that was Rachel. The Skylar Dellen case is a gripping chapter in the annals of crime, intertwining elements of fame, deception, and murder on the high seas. Born in 1984 in California, Skylar was once a child actor, best known for his role in popular television shows like Power Rangers. However, as often happens with those in the spotlight, the bright lights of Hollywood faded, and he became embroiled in a life of crime. In the early 2000s, Skylar Dellen found himself facing a series of legal troubles, culminating in a twisted plot that would lead to unforgivable actions. He, along with accomplices, devised a cruel scheme targeting wealthy individuals to finance his lifestyle. One such set of victims would be a couple, Tom and Jackie Hawks, who owned a boat called the Well Deserve. The Hawks were experienced sailors and had plans to sell their yacht for a fresh start. Dellen came across their listing and pretended to be an interested buyer. This was merely the beginning of a horrific journey. On a November day in 2004, he met the couple for a test run on the vessel, assuring them of his genuine intent. However, hidden beneath his charming facade was a sinister plan. Once on board, things took a dark turn. Dellen and his accomplices realized the couple was not merely obstacles, but rather stepping stones to execute their heinous intentions. They overpowered Tom and Jackie, binding them to an anchor. The details that emerged later were harrowing. The couple was thrown overboard into the ocean, weighed down by the very anchor they had once admired as part of their beloved yacht. What followed after this brutal act is a chilling reflection of Dellen's calculated nature. In an attempt to cover up their actions, the perpetrators disassembled the yacht, selling parts off to create a misleading narrative. However, despite their efforts, the truth began to unravel as authorities grew suspicious. The fishing community found personal belongings and eventually located parts of the yacht, raising red flags. This led the police on a trail of discovery that would expose Dellen and his accomplices. Investigators discovered evidence linking Dellen to the crime, and as the story unfolded, it became clear that not only was there a motive, but also a chilling portrayal of betrayal. Dellen was not just a former child star. He was a man who had descended into darkness, motivated by greed and desperation. As the courtroom drama unfolded, jurors listened as prosecutors painted a vivid picture of the events leading up to the couple's tragic end. The case captured widespread attention, not just because of the grisly details, but also due to Dellen's past in the entertainment industry. Public fascination grew as the revelation of a child actor turned criminal took center stage. The outcome of the trial was not only a pivotal moment for the victims' families seeking justice, but also for society looking to understand how someone could take such drastic and violent actions. Dellen was convicted on counts of murder, and his former life as an actor became a distant memory, overshadowed by horrific deeds. The case serves as a chilling reminder of the potential for darkness that can exist within those we might least suspect. It raises questions about identity, the impacts of fame, and the drastic paths that life can take. Skylar Dellen is now a figure synonymous with betrayal and tragedy, and the Skylar Dellen yacht murders remain a haunting story of loss and the darkest corners of human ambition. This narrative isn't just about crime. It's a chilling exploration of choices and the consequences that follow when a person strays too far from the path of decency. It invites a reflection on how quickly life can pivot from hopeful beginnings to tragic endings, illustrating the unpredictable nature of human ambition and morality. As we look back at Skylar Dellen's life and the revolting actions that led to his downfall, we are reminded that each of us is responsible for our choices. With a society that often celebrates fame and success, it is crucial to remain vigilant and aware of the shadows that can lurk behind a facade of accomplishment. The story of Skylar Dellen and the tragedy he caused reverberates through history, a cautionary tale that serves as a stark reminder of how desperation can drive individuals to exploit, betray, and ultimately destroy those around them. In the end, the Hawks' lives were lost, and one man's descent into darkness captured an audience's attention, sparking discussions about morality, the impact of fame, and the true nature of humanity. As we reflect on this, it remains a sobering exploration into the potential for both light and darkness within us all. In the vibrant and chaotic landscape of post-Katrina New Orleans, a city famous for its festivities and resilience, emerges a dark tale of love turned sinister. The story revolves around Zach Bowen and Addie Hall, a young couple whose passionate romance ultimately unraveled into a nightmarish scenario that gripped the nation and left an indelible mark on the city. Zach Bowen was a bartender known for his charisma and charm. He had an aura that drew people in, and many admired his vibrant personality. Addie Hall, on the other hand, was a carefree spirit, deeply in love with Zach. They seemed like the perfect couple, often seen together at local bars and music venues, enjoying the rich culture New Orleans had to offer. Their relationship thrived amidst the euphoria of the city's post-Katrina revival, which was a time of hope, rebuilding, and occasional revelry. However, behind the facade of happiness, tensions brewed. As the city was still healing from the catastrophic effects of Hurricane Katrina, so were their personal histories. Both came from troubled backgrounds, intertwined with personal struggles that would later play a significant role in the tragedy that was to unfold. Their love story transitioned from passionate highs to alarming lows, drawing friends and family into the chaos. Zach and Addie's relationship was marked by intense emotions, which sometimes boiled over into volatile arguments. They experienced a cycle of love and conflict, a dance that many couples can relate to, yet this particular dance took a harrowing turn. Friends often noted that Addie was fiercely devoted to Zach, a devotion that blurred the lines, making it difficult for her to see the red flags waving in front of her. Zach, on the other hand, became increasingly erratic, a character plagued by jealousy and possessiveness. As the summer of 2006 drew to a close, the situation reached a critical point. On the evening of October 17, 2006, a night that began like any other, this cycle reached its tragic climax. Amidst the backdrop of New Orleans, where the lively sounds of jazz filled the air, a horrific crime unfolded. Zach, pushed by emotions he could not control, committed an act that would turn the community's sense of normalcy upside down. The nature of the crime was shocking. Zach murdered Addie, and in an act that defied comprehension, he dismembered her body. The details echoed through the streets of New Orleans, bewildering those who heard them. The act was not only brutal, it was chillingly calculated in some aspects. Afterward, Zach did not flee. Instead, he went to his place of work, a local bar, as if nothing had happened. The days that followed were a mix of confusion, horror, and disbelief. Eventually, the story took an even darker turn. Zach, feeling the weight of his actions, began leaving disturbing notes behind. These notes provided insight into his twisted mindset and his attempts to rationalize what he had done. They reflected a narrative of regret and defiance, showcasing both a deeper psychological struggle and a chilling lack of remorse. The notes added an unsettling layer to an already horrific story, drawing curiosity and horror from the public. The case quickly attracted media attention, transforming the lives of those involved into a spectacle for the world to see. The images of a once thriving couple were juxtaposed with tales of violence, leading to headlines that seemed almost unreal. People across the nation were captivated and horrified by the revelations that emerged. The story became more than just the tale of Zach and Addie. It symbolized a deeper issue of love, jealousy, and the hidden darkness that can lurk in human relationships. As investigations unfolded, the community grappled with grief and shock. Addie Hall's family was left to navigate the unspeakable pain of losing a daughter in such a brutal manner. They painted a picture of a young woman with dreams and potential, someone who deserved love, but instead encountered a tragic end. The local community mourned her loss. Vigil gatherings were held, depicting the warmth and vitality that Addie had brought to those around her. Zach's trial became a sensational event, a chilling reminder of how quickly love can turn to darkness. Throughout the proceedings, various testimonies revealed deeper layers of their relationship, shining a light on the complexities of human emotions. Friends and family members spoke of Addie's vibrant spirit, her dreams, and her passion for life. They also discussed the looming shadow of Zach's personal struggles, providing context to his erratic behavior and violent outbursts. In the end, the case left an imprint on both the hearts of those who loved Addie and the wider community of New Orleans. It raised questions about domestic violence, mental health, and the complexities of relationships, a haunting reminder of the hidden battles many face. Even as life returned to the colorful streets of New Orleans, the dark echoes of this tale lingered. The story of Zach Bowen and Addie Hall serves as a cautionary tale about the darker sides of passion and the consequences of unchecked emotions. In a city known for its resilience and spirit, it stands as a solemn chapter in the ongoing narrative of love, loss, and the need for awareness in human connections. Those who hear of this story are reminded that every relationship has its complexities, and it is vital to approach love with both passion and caution. The legacy of Addie Hall, though tragically cut short, continues to resonate as a symbol of possibility amidst adversity. In January 2008, the quiet city of Reno, Nevada, was shaken by a tragic and shocking event that would leave a deep mark on the community. Brianna Dennison, a vibrant and determined 19-year-old college student, disappeared under distressing circumstances that would later reveal a darker side to the community she called home. Brianna was known for her lively spirit and her ambitions as a student at the University of Nevada, Reno, Austria. She had friends who adored her and family members who supported her aspirations. On the evening of January 20th, she went visiting friends. It was a typical winter's night, with the air crisp and cool, and conversations filled with laughter and camaraderie. However, this innocent gathering would soon take a harrowing turn. When Brianna did not return home that night, concern rapidly grew among her friends and family. They reported her missing, initiating a desperate search that would engage local authorities, volunteers from the community, and people who simply wanted to help. Search parties scoured nearby neighborhoods, parks, and other areas, distributing flyers bearing Brianna's cheerful image and appealing for information. The investigation gathered momentum as authorities began to piece together the last known movements of Brianna. Initial clues suggested she had been last seen leaving her friend's house in the early hours of January 21. Alarm bells rang loudly when investigators uncovered that she was abducted. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance painted a picture of fear and uncertainty, with many in the community feeling apprehensive about safety in their own neighborhoods. As days turned into weeks, the search efforts continued without success. Friends and family held vigils, a poignant and heartbreaking reminder of the love and hope they held for the safe return of their beloved daughter, friend, and student. The media picked up the story, bringing channel after channel to cover the unfolding tragedy. The story captured the attention of both local citizens and people far beyond Reno, stirring feelings of empathy and concern across the nation. On February 15th, nearly a month after her disappearance, the distressing news came to light. A series of discoveries led investigators to a remote area in the outskirts of Reno, Hawaii. There, in a secluded area, Brianna's body was found. The news struck a devastating blow to her family, friends, and the entire community. Mourning broke out, with many struggling to comprehend how a vibrant young life could be so tragically cut short. As investigators delved deeper into the case, the pieces began to align. Authorities swiftly focused their efforts on identifying a suspect. An extensive investigation ensued, involving numerous law enforcement agencies, forensic experts, and modern technology. They combed through evidence, gathered DNA samples, and followed leads that transcended local boundaries. The journey toward justice was fraught with challenges, but authorities remained resolute. Finally, in May 2009, by using advancements in DNA technology, they identified a suspect named James B. Ramos Dojoy. He was ultimately arrested and charged with the murder of Brianna Dennison. The community watched closely as the case progressed through the legal system, grappling with the emotions that accompanied each development. The trial made headlines, showcasing the intricate details surrounding the case and the profound impact Brianna's death had on her family and the Reno community. Her parents courageously stood before the court, sharing their memories of Brianna, illustrating her as much more than just a victim, but as a person full of dreams who had touched so many lives. In January 2010, James Ramos was found guilty of the murder of Brianna Dennison and was sentenced to a substantial prison term. The verdict brought a mixture of relief and sorrow. While justice had been sought, the loss of Brianna remained an irreplaceable void. The case ignited discussions about safety and the importance of awareness in communities. It made people more vigilant, encouraging them to look out for one another and to remain aware of the hidden dangers that can exist even in the most familiar surroundings. In the aftermath, Brianna's legacy continued to inspire. Her family established the Brianna Dennison Foundation, focusing on raising awareness about safety and prevention. They dedicated their efforts to educate others, ensuring that Brianna's story would serve as a reminder of the importance of community and vigilance. Through the foundation, they aim to provide resources and support for victims of violence, empowering individuals to speak out and seek help. The case of Brianna Dennison is one that remains etched in the memories of many. It serves as a somber reminder of how quickly life can change and how critical it is to appreciate every moment. As her family, friends, and the Reno community continue to honor her life, they embrace the lessons learned from this heartbreaking chapter. The resilience and solidarity that emerged reflect a community coming together, forever inspired by the bright spirit of a young woman whose life, though tragically cut short, continues to resonate in the hearts of those who remember her. Joseph Edward Duncan III is a name that sends chills down the spines of many. His criminal acts stand as a haunting testament to the darker aspects of human nature. Born in 1963, Duncan's life was marked by tumultuous childhood experiences, including frequent relocations and a troubled family background. These factors would shape him into a perpetrator of horrific crimes. As he grew older, Duncan's early interactions with the law began in the 1980s, where he faced charges related to sexual offenses. His criminal tendencies were not just fleeting moments of recklessness. They were indicative of a deeper psychological disturbance. Experts in criminal psychology often study individuals like Duncan to understand the complex interplay of environmental factors, mental health issues, and sociopathic tendencies that contribute to violent behavior. In the year 2005, Duncan plunged into infamy through a series of heinous acts that would forever stain the quiet landscape of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. One fateful day, he entered the home of the Barjack family, an ordinary family living their lives, unaware of the nightmare about to unfold. Duncan brutally murdered 3 members of this family: Brenda Barjack, her 10-year-old son, and her 12-year-old daughter. The violence of these acts was unimaginable, leaving the community and law enforcement in shock. The gruesome nature of Duncan's crimes was compounded by what he did next. After killing the family members, he kidnapped 2 other children, Shasta and Dellen Groane. At the time, the siblings were only 8 and 9 years old. The kidnapping was a chilling example of the lengths to which Duncan was willing to go to fulfill his sinister desires. For weeks, the children were subjected to a terrifying ordeal while under his control. Their courage and resilience would eventually play a crucial role in their eventual rescue. During the time the children were missing, an extensive search was launched. Law enforcement agencies, community members, and volunteers worked tirelessly to locate Shasta and Dellen. This massive effort illustrated the profound impact that Duncan's actions had on the community as they banded together in hopes of bringing the children home safely. Meanwhile, Duncan's actions continued to attract media attention, shining a spotlight on the complexities of criminal behavior, the safety of children, and the psychological patterns exhibited by violent offenders. The case raised many questions regarding monitoring systems, rehabilitation possibilities, and the preventive measures that could be put in place to avert such tragedies in the future. Eventually, the nightmare came to an end when police received a tip regarding the whereabouts of Duncan and the children. In a moment of brave intervention, law enforcement officers entered a motel room where Duncan was staying with Shasta. The relief felt by the authorities when they found Shasta alive was immeasurable, and her subsequent testimony provided powerful insights into the horrors she had faced. Duncan's trial captivated audiences and highlighted the judicial process in dealing with such extreme cases. The courtroom became a place where the stark contrast between the innocence of childhood and the unimaginable cruelty of a predator was laid bare. Testimonies from survivors, victim advocates, and family members painted a picture of the lasting scars left in the wake of Duncan's actions. In 2008, Duncan faced a federal court for the kidnapping and sexual assault of the growing children. His life sentence without the possibility of parole underscored the severity of his actions and the need for justice in the eyes of the victims' families and the broader community. This case has become a reference point in discussions about child safety and the systems meant to protect the vulnerable. Duncan's story does not just exist in a vacuum. It serves as a reminder of the unfortunate reality that for many, this kind of evil is not just a shadow in the dark. It can manifest in ways that shatter lives and alter communities forever. It prompts ongoing conversations about vigilance, support for survivors, and the necessity for effective prevention strategies to safeguard future generations. While the story of Joseph Edward Duncan III is irrefutably tragic, it also illustrates the resilience of the human spirit. Survivors like Shasta Gronin have shared their stories to raise awareness and advocate for other victims of violence. Their strength and determination serve as a beacon of hope, emphasizing that despite the presence of evil in the world, goodness and courage often arise in response. As we reflect on such heartbreaking narratives, it is crucial to acknowledge the importance of community support, mental health awareness, and proactive measures aimed at protecting children and families. The journey to healing and justice is often long, but the resilience demonstrated by individuals affected by acts of violence offers a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, light can break through. In the quiet city of Halifax, Canada, a series of tragic events unfolded that sent shockwaves through the community and raised urgent questions about worker safety. This narrative begins with the bustling streets of Halifax, where the aroma of freshly baked pizza fills the air. For many residents and visitors, pizza delivery is more than just a meal. It is a cherished convenience that brings joy to gatherings and quiet nights at home. However, the essence of this routine was shattered when two delivery drivers lost their lives in separate, horrifying incidents. The first incident occurred on a chilly night in late 2022. A young driver, known for his friendly demeanor and dedication to his job, set out on his usual route, filled with excitement as he anticipated delivering a warm pizza to a hungry customer. Unfortunately, what awaited him was a harrowing experience that would lead to an early end to his life. The driver went missing after leaving the restaurant, prompting concerns from his co-workers and family. Hours turned into a long night filled with worry and trepidation until his body was discovered not far from where he was last seen. The shock of this discovery rippled through the local community, leaving friends and family devastated. Just weeks later, another heart-wrenching incident echoed the tragedy of the first. A seasoned delivery driver who had spent years navigating the city streets was also murdered while doing his job. Known for his kindness and reliability, this driver had formed bonds with many regular customers who looked forward to his familiar face at their doorstep. This second act of violence was met with outrage and fear, as residents began to question the safety of those who served them in this often overlooked profession. The grim reality of these acts forced police and community leaders to grapple with the implications for delivery drivers and their family members. In the aftermath, the discussions around worker safety intensified. Delivery drivers, like many others in the gig economy, often operate under precarious conditions. With little to no safety net, they face numerous risks daily, from navigating busy streets to encountering unpredictable situations on the job. These incidents raised essential conversations about the measures needed to protect those who work tirelessly to ensure that others can enjoy their meals in the comfort of their homes. Many began advocating for better safety protocols and support systems for delivery drivers. Suggestions included the implementation of enhanced tracking systems, the provision of safety training, and even the establishment of emergency protocols to be followed in potentially dangerous situations. Community outreach programs were initiated, aimed at bridging the gap between drivers and the public, encouraging respect and understanding for the work they do. Moreover, technology emerged as a potential ally in ensuring driver safety. Innovations such as GPS tracking, panic buttons on delivery apps, and increased communication between drivers and their dispatchers became hot topics. These advancements offered a glimmer of hope that similar tragedies could be avoided in the future by providing real-time assistance and monitoring during deliveries. In light of these events, local pizza businesses rallied in solidarity, recognizing their responsibility to ensure a safe working environment for their employees. Many sought to instill a culture of safety, encouraging drivers to remain vigilant while on the road and adopt specific protocols when responding to delivery calls, particularly in unfamiliar or isolated areas. As the investigations into these murders progressed, community members mobilized to honor the memories of the fallen drivers. Vigils were held, where people gathered not only to grieve, but to raise awareness about the inherent risks faced by delivery personnel. These gatherings transformed into powerful statements of solidarity, highlighting the value of compassion and support for those who carry out essential services in the community. This heartbreaking chapter in Halifax's history serves as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by those who work behind the scenes of our daily lives. It sheds light on the importance of community and safety, urging us all to take a moment to appreciate the dedication and hard work of individuals who often go unnoticed. The conversations sparked by these tragedies continue to resonate with many, emphasizing the collective responsibility we have to ensure that everyone in our society can work without fear. Halifax stands united in its quest for change, advocating for a safer environment, not just for pizza delivery drivers, but for all workers who face vulnerabilities in their jobs. As the community heals from the wounds of this violence, it becomes more aware of the pressing need for protection, support, and respect for every individual who contributes to the fabric of everyday life. Through compassion, advocacy, and awareness, there is hope for a brighter future where such tragedies become a thing of the past. In the early morning of December 16, 2004, a horrific crime unfolded in the small community of Skidmore, Missouri. The case that would soon grip the nation was that of Lisa Montgomery, who committed a brutal act that shocked not only the local residents, but also people across America. The details of the case reveal an unsettling blend of desperation, mental illness, and tragedy. Lisa Montgomery was born in 1968 in Kansas. From a young age, she faced considerable hardships, enduring a difficult childhood marked by abuse and trauma. These experiences left deep emotional scars and affected her mental health as she grew into adulthood. She later became a mother herself, but her struggles continued as she faced challenges in her relationships and her ability to care for her children. The victim of this dark tale was Bobby Jo Stinnett, a 23-year-old woman who was 8 months pregnant. Bobby Jo was known for her kind nature and was excitedly preparing for the arrival of her first child. She had found solace and community through online forums for expectant mothers, where she connected with others experiencing similar joys and anxiety. The day of the incident was like any other. Bobby Jo was at home, planning the final touches for her nursery, when her life took a tragic turn. On that fateful day, Lisa Montgomery, who had been posing as a mother seeking to adopt a child, arranged to meet with Bobby Jo under the guise of discussing a potential purchase of baby clothes. However, the reality that unfolded was catastrophic. Montgomery arrived at Bobby Jo's home, where a brutal confrontation occurred. In a chilling act of violence, Lisa Montgomery strangled Bobby Jo and then proceeded to cut the unborn child from her body. It was an unimaginable act, one that disrupted lives and sent shockwaves through the community and the nation. What makes this case even more disturbing is the psychological aspect of Lisa Montgomery's life. Experts and observers noted that she had suffered severely from mental health issues, which were exacerbated by her traumatic past. During the investigation, it became evident that Montgomery had been diagnosed with various psychological conditions, including bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. This context did not excuse her actions, but it provided a glimpse into the complexities surrounding her state of mind. In the immediate aftermath of the crime, Lisa fled the scene with the newborn baby girl, whom she named Abigail. However, law enforcement quickly identified her as a suspect. As news of the crime broke, there was an outpouring of shock and anger. The media began to cover the story extensively, leading to a national conversation about crime, mental illness, and motherhood. Bobby Jo's family, friends, and community mourned the loss of a bright young woman whose life had been brutally cut short, and community vigils were held to honor her memory. The baby girl, Abigail, was found safe and returned to her family. This heartwarming aspect of the story provided a glimmer of hope amidst the tragedy, highlighting the strength of community and the resilience of life. However, Lisa Montgomery was arrested, charged with first-degree murder, and taken into custody. Her case would eventually move through the judicial system, sparking discussions about the death penalty, mental illness, and gender-based violence. As Montgomery awaited trial, her defense team sought to argue that her mental health issues played a significant role in her actions. They emphasized her tragic past, suggesting that the abuse she suffered as a child had impacted her mental stability. The prosecution, on the other hand, focused on the brutality of the crime and the need for justice for Bobby Jo Stinnett and her family. The trial drew significant media attention and became a focal point for discussions surrounding crime and punishment in America. Ultimately, in 2007, Lisa Montgomery was convicted of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to death, becoming the first woman in the United States to be sentenced to death for a murder committed after the year 2000. This verdict opened the floodgates for debate on the justice system's approach to female offenders, particularly those with histories of trauma and mental illness. Advocates for mental health issues pointed to Montgomery's case as indicative of a system that often fails to address the underlying causes of violent behavior. As the years passed, the case continued to evoke strong feelings. Supporters of Montgomery argued for her mental health treatment rather than capital punishment, highlighting the complexities of her life and the impact of her mental illness on her actions. They pointed out that her case brought to light the often overlooked struggles faced by women dealing with trauma and psychological issues. Others, however, felt that the severity of her actions warranted the ultimate penalty, emphasizing the loss and pain inflicted on Bobby Joe's family. In January 2021, decades after the crime and following various legal battles, Montgomery was executed by lethal injection. The case of Lisa Montgomery remains a deeply polarizing topic, igniting discussions about mental health, justice, and mercy. It serves as a reminder of the fractures in society where personal suffering can lead to unspeakable acts. The story reflects the complexity of the human condition, blending tragedy and horror with glimpses of compassion and societal reflection. The Lisa Montgomery case will forever be etched in the annals of American crime as a chilling example of how personal demons can manifest in horrifying ways, leaving behind a lasting impact on families, communities, and the broader societal conversation surrounding mental health and criminal justice. The legacy of this case is one that challenges us to consider not only the actions taken, but also the myriad of factors that contribute to such devastating outcomes. It underscores the need for compassion and understanding, even in the face of unimaginable acts. The Texas yogurt shop murders is a haunting chapter in the history of Austin, Texas, that has left an indelible mark on the community. In the early morning hours of December 6, 1991, a tragedy unfolded inside a small yogurt shop located on a busy street. 4 teenage girls who were working at the shop found themselves in a scenario that would change their lives forever. The girls, who were filled with the excitement of youth and the simple joys of their part-time jobs, were brutally murdered, leaving family and friends in devastation. At the time, the shockwaves of this crime echoed throughout the community. The circumstances surrounding their deaths were grim and senseless. The police rapidly launched a thorough investigation, but despite their best efforts, leads were scarce and frustration grew. The case quickly became a chilling mystery that would haunt not just the victims' families, but the entire city of Austin. For many years, this case sat cold, its chilling details only surfacing in the memories of those who remembered the tragedy. It seemed, for a time, that justice might never be served. However, in the years that followed, the story took an unexpected turn. In 2009, advances in forensic science brought new hope. Investigators reopened the case when new DNA evidence came to light, leading them to revisit the pile of old evidence that had lain dormant for nearly 2 decades. This new information was pivotal. DNA technology, which had significantly evolved since the original investigation, offered a chance to potentially identify the perpetrators who had evaded capture for so long. For years, the case had been mired in mysteries, dead ends, and various suspects. But the introduction of modern DNA methods reignited hope among the community, the victims' families, and law enforcement alike. As investigators delved into this fresh avenue of inquiry, they meticulously re-examined the evidence collected from the crime scene, looking for the smallest trace of information that might point to a breakthrough. With a renewed sense of momentum, the Texas Rangers, along with the Austin Police Department, collaborated to piece together every fragment of this complex puzzle. Over the years, they had encountered numerous theories and suspects, but the DNA created a tangible connection that had previously been missing. As this monumental update unfolded, it brought with it a wave of media attention, drawing national interest. News outlets were flooded with speculation and stories, recounting the tragic events of 1991, while providing updates on the steps being taken to resolve the case. Citizens became engaged, and community gatherings were held in remembrance of the girls, fostering a united front of support for their families and advocates calling for justice. The evolution of the Texas yogurt shop murders is a testament to the relentless pursuit of justice, showcasing the capacity of the criminal justice system to adapt and grow alongside advancements in technology. The case serves as a reminder of the importance of forensic science and how it can reveal the truth even years after a crime has been committed. In the ensuing years, as the investigation unfolded with the help of new DNA advancements, potential suspects were identified and drawn back into the spotlight. It was a complicated process filled with the tension of hope and despair, as the long overdue closure seemed tantalizingly close, yet still frustratingly out of reach. The families of the victims, who had endured almost 2 decades of uncertainty and heartache, were vested in the outcome. They held steadfast to the belief that somewhere within the DNA profiles and forensic evidence lay the truth about who had taken their daughters from them far too soon. Each development in the case was met with both eagerness and caution, a dance between optimism and the harsh reality of potential disappointments. As the years continued to pass, the case remained a reminder of the impact that violence can have within a community. Every detail shared, every update released, served not only as a tribute to the memories of the 4 innocent girls, but also as an affirmation that the pursuit of justice is enduring. It highlighted the need for vigilance, not just in seeking resolution for those lost, but in protecting others from similar fates. The ongoing investigation into the Texas yogurt shop murders illustrates how crime scene analysis and forensic methodology can evolve and lead to new revelations. As investigators strive to connect the dots from the evidence unearthed, the community continues to rally around the cause, standing in solidarity with the hopes that clarity and justice will ultimately prevail. In essence, the journey of this case, filled with heartache, discovery, and unyielding determination, remains a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the relentless quest for truth. As the narrative unfolds, it reflects a profound tale where science, community, and the unbreakable bonds of family intertwine in their quest for resolution, leaving a legacy that contributes to the annals of criminal justice history. The Texas yogurt shop murders spark important conversations about progress in law enforcement, the advancements in forensic sciences, and the unwavering spirit of human resilience in the face of tragedy.